mind work backwards just for a minute. I hold on to you before the memory's gone. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. You make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, remember. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. You make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, remember. When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind work backwards just for a minute, I hold on to you before the memory's gone. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. You make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, remember. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. You make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, remember. There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits. You can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will welcome you once again to the Sea Autumn Split here for a wonderful night of League of Legends, because we have a great opportunity to see some very good teams in a best of 5 series tonight, and we are joined by none other than Recollect and Major Cheese, coming in hot for tonight's best of 5 semifinals between the Bumblebee boys and Definitely Not Washed Up.
Yep. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Recollect, and as mentioned, this is the lovely Cheese, and I'm pretty excited to be here. It's nice to see you again, Cheese. How are you feeling today about this sort of series?
I'm feeling hyped as hell, man. Like, we're gonna see two of the really exciting teams face off each other, and unlike the last quarterfinals, I think this one's gonna be a banger.
Yep, an absolute banger, and you know what? I think you're right because we've talked a little bit off camera about sort of the way that these two teams have progressed throughout the tournament. It's very interesting to me. Obviously, Bumblebee Boys very solid. They managed to pick up that bye here in one of the early weeks, and as such, it means that they didn't have to play very recently because they are just slotted straight into the semi-finals. Whereas definitely not washed up. They did have to take that series over Extreme Esports, which they did handedly in that 2-0.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like watching that, I mean, that means that we don't have as much recent data on Bumblebee Boys. All we can do look at the regular season. And in the regular season, they actually beat Definitely Watch Up, and they also finished first in the brackets. So they should look at the obvious favorites. But we haven't seen them play in the quarters, and Extreme Esports is like one of the few teams that actually beat Bumblebees, and they got 2-0'd by Definitely Watch Up. So in my mind, I mean, all cards are up. I'm actually still now looking to. It looks like Definitely Watch Up has, slowly improved throughout the season. I feel like so. I don't feel like there's like a clear favorite. I would have been able to judge if there had been a quarterfinal, yes, but obviously with the bye, it's very hard to tell. So I think that this one is going to be very close.
Yeah, and I think close is it's always good to have a close series, right? We want ourselves 5 games. We like our best of 5s to go the full distance so we can get that proper sort of final payoff, right? And because we're expecting it to be a close series, I've got to give you the question that every color caster hates to answer, but every play-by-play has to ask, and it's who are you taking? Who is your favorite? And give me a reason why.
Okay. So normally before this, I talked a bit off camera. I was ready to give Definitely Watch Up the sort of head thing because I felt like they had some improvements and they have some really strong players on their roster that I think can actually show up if they just get sort of their cohesion together, and then they can definitely contend. But actually now for today, what I can see is that they're playing with some new faces from last time, so they are swapping some things around. And with that said, like I'm gonna go more towards Bumblebee because they are the more consistent roster. I feel like so. I think they will just, with the cohesiveness that they have and the fact that they have looked strong all throughout the season, they will probably take it. But I don't know. Like when I watched Devin Watson, they were playing with I think a different bot lane, and they also play with different support in the last game that they played in the quarters. They play with Balan, I believe. Now they think that it looks like they might have Te on the support role instead. So this is definitely looking spicy. But they do have Dark God, who seemed to be a really strong AD carry. So I mean, they're not. It's still a close series. I feel like so. Yeah, I am hyped for it.
Well, either way, a close series is exactly what we're expecting, and it's what I'm definitely hoping for. It's interesting that you mentioned Dargod, because that AD carry position is something to keep an eye on. I think Golden Excellence has been spamming Misfortune in solo queues, so clearly that one's been rising up in priority. And whether or not we will see that one be whipped out here and now, I'm not sure about, but we will have to wait and see in that regard. And considering, before we get into this, it is the Worlds patch. I'm sure you've been watching your Worlds adamantly. And are there any sort of picks that have come into fruition that you're kind of expecting these guys to really prioritize? Because, you have your obvious, the picks that these guys are known for, their specialties. But when you don't have those special sources, you're going to go back to the meta, right? And what is it you're expecting to see here that will come through that's really going to dictate this series?
I mean, maybe there is some revenge shenanigans, but other than that, I feel like these guys have been watching Worlds as close as I do because their sort of picks is very standardized. I feel like there's going to be MMF Moon, there's going to be Lucian Nami, there's going to be some Jarvan from there definitely, and then the Echo if you play AD mids even. Don't see a Trinidad mid, I don't think, but anything is possible. I feel like a lot of maybe set Aatrox Prio is also going to be a thing that I've seen both top laner play. So definitely very meta based and very standardized. And speaking of that, we already see that Xin Zhao is starting to get better, and also Graves. Löwhagen, the jungler for the Phenomenal Shop, is a very adamant Graves player. So I think taking off this off the board early is just a no-brainer. It's a good choice. I want to see what the they do take off the MF, which I mean everyone has seen the MFMM, right? It's like the big thing of the recent meta. It's just one of those things that keeps building up. So I think taking off the board early, if you don't want to deal with that, usually I like seeing this MF keep opened as it sort of opens you up to sort of trade with a Lucian Nami. Now they might lock themselves around the risk of having to ban out Lucian or Nami next, because they might have to be careful. But they are actually I'm dumb. They are on the red side, so they can actually trade those 2 picks for our first pick. So now Bombos, Lucian Nami is open. So I feel like if they don't take one of these 2 champions away, I don't expect them to push out to any of them because they can just get Lucian Nami on R1 or 2 for free. And Bumblebee boys, I don't know. Their first pick, I don't think there's a first pick in the game that's gonna sort of counter tip that first phase draft balance, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going with a Bard Havria, which is smart. I mean, the support from Bumblebee boys plays a lot of Bard, and it can be a very annoying champion to deal with all of the roams that he is able to pull out. But okay, this is a lot of pressure for me. First pick, what are you gonna value? There are so
Well,
many duo
well,
bots and stuff open.
I was gonna say the thing that rises to priority to me is you just pick the Lucian, right? You compare the Lucian with something like the Brom for defensive laning, but also something like that Leona or the Nautilus, right? So there are quite a few options available if you go that route. Whereas with the Nami, the AD carry pool isn't as great. However, you've always got all of the other powerful like jungle picks that are available, but it is that Lucian hover I mentioned and that you've been talking about as well that does come through. Pair it with the Leona, pair it with the Thresh, pair it with the Brom. You got yourself some options, and Lucian, whilst not as good in a solo lane as it used to be, still has a lot of power all around the map.
You can definitely pair him with a Rakan I've seen popping up as well, but it's really only shows because otherwise you're gonna get Lucian Nami locked in against you, and then you don't have a bot lane. But now, what do you answer with this? Aphelios, I think it's a very skilled Aphelios Thresh, a very good dual lane, but depending on what support pick Bumblebee pulls here, they could still run the risk of being a bit bullied out in the early levels. But with the range, it all depends on the support matchup here, I feel like, because
And
Aphelios, while has his range, if Lucian gets a good enabler, he can still bully out almost every lane.
yeah, and the
So
thing is to me is that Brom is the obvious answer, right? You just pair the Brom lane there. You happily create a situation where you can play very aggressively if you choose to do so. Leona is an option as well. The only obviously issue is pre-level 6 is the Bar of Flay versus the Zenith Blade, but we do end up seeing that Leona lock-in. And to me, you've got yourself a solid sort of early game powerhouse bot lane here on the blue side with CC already. I want to see some sort of powerhouse early jungler, preferably AD now to come through. Considering we've got the Xin Zhao and the Graves bands, Lee Sin comes to mind for me.
yeah, Lee Sin is different from Olaf. Oh, that's not what I want to say. I mean, unless this is Olaf top lane, I don't think it's Olaf jungle because Olaf without any enablers, just he cannot survive. He will just get blown up, and he doesn't have the damage to sort of justify his squishiness. So I think it's really throwing me for a loop. But we'll see what ends up. Now, answers here on definitely watch up to the side. Okay, they see something that I presume maybe is jungle, but I was honestly leaning with the top. I mean, it is a flex pick, so they can't know for sure. But now they can either just safe pick blind a mid laner is what I'm expecting to do, or lock in a jungle so that pool doesn't get pinched too much. And that's what they end up doing. They end up blocking the Trundle, which if this is Soul of Jungle, I think is perfectly fine. You're gonna match some of the early aggression that he can put out. You have fairly similar clears as far as I'm aware of. I haven't seen All of Jungle in a while, so unless I'm missing something. But yeah, I think it's a really good pickup from them.
Yeah, I think so too, and it makes a lot of sense as well. As you mentioned before, though, with this Olaf lock-in, I'm expecting to see a lot of those enablers taken off the table. So that Orianna already off the table, one of those, shield and then just go. You've also obviously got the Solar Flare into Shockwave combo that can be deadly. Makes a lot of sense to ban that one out, and I think that the power of this Trundle also is the fact that when you look at the blue side, Leona, Olaf both locked in, very, pseudo tanky. Take those stats away, they're going to get melted in a heartbeat. So I love the Trundle pick, and I like the current bans that we're seeing coming through here from the blue side. Noticing, you got Solar Flare already, you've got yourself the Culling, which can be pretty good, and potentially you're wanting to lock in, something that can have easy backline access, maybe Malphite sort of route, although Malphite into Trundle would be kind of crazy. So giving themselves more options later on down the route by bounding out that Silas.
Yeah, definitely. Don't want to get all those good ultimates stolen if you do invest into them. Meanwhile, we have the Orianna ban. I mean, you don't want to face Leon Orianna, as we already touched on, but then Fiora. I think this is sort of depends on what you want to run in the top lane. I mean, it can be really oppressive and really strong, and if it gets going, it's really hard to deal with. So they might just want to take that away because they're not comfortable playing into this sort of a split push style. They do have a lot of top lane options available that I think could do well into Fiora. There's still the Aatrox variant there, but Set definitely might struggle a bit more. But meanwhile, we see TF ban, and TF ban is one of those things that it's just map control. It's good. If you can ban it, I think you always should, unless you have a really good counter prepared. But now we're going into the R4 pick, and I was about to say top lane is one of the things I want to go on. They're gonna blind the top lane. Actually, they could wait and just blind mid, and then go for top lane counter, which is what you usually see on red side. It just depends on what player they want to play around here. and they
Yeah.
actually blind an Aatrox, which he is a that is a bit weird to me, but I can get to that and why in a second after we draft is completing. But meanwhile, we have the Camille. Now, this is good bombers. They kind of get built out, in my opinion. Now they know top lane. They don't have to they don't have to blind top lane, which would usually have to do on blue side. So they are just they get to pick the leader here. Camille, still great top laner. Can struggle a bit early levels into the Aatrox, but once he gets items, like she just takes over the side, and there's no competition there at all.
I think it's really weird to see this Aatrox come in blind as well with so many top lanes available. Because the obvious one, as we say, is the Camille, right? But you've still got GP. You've got Renekton you can run in with
Set's
Olaf.
open.
Set is open. There's so many things that you can play into the Aatrox, as well as Set just being a better blind in general. But with this Victor coming through, I like having Olaf with Victor. So you cover for the weakness of Victor, which can be that sort of before he gets that E upgrade to give himself the proper Death Ray laser. He can struggle before then. However, is vulnerable, low mobility. I'd like to see something with a lot of damage that can help punish that with the pillar.
Yeah, I definitely think that maybe you can see I mean, you don't want to pick up. Maybe you could even see a Galio to just go full on your drive concepts that you wanted to. But now you do the Victor, which is a fine blind. I think that it's scary to pick Galio blind because you can get counter very easily with all the picks. Here, though, we do see the Azir lock in, which, I mean, here you're just doing for a basic control mage sort of setup. And if you look at everyone's comp, except for the Aatrox, they have a really good front to back, which is exactly what you want to have a Kai'Pa comp into a dive comp so you can absorb the engage and kite back. And they have really good tools to do this. The only odd man out is the Aatrox. And that's why if you're going to blind your top laner, that means that you probably don't want to play around them. So if you then blind a strong side top, that's really risky to do. And I definitely feel like I would rather see some sort of a weak side top lane like the GP or just straight up tank if they want to go that route and just get a really strong front to back sort of team comp and they can just absorb the engage from the Bumblebee boys and then have a lot more to do with defense. But this does give them some more options in the early game if they want to do some stuff on the top side, which does make the jungler's life a bit easier.
Yeah, the only worrying thing I think about this right side composition is, to me, is the ease of engage. Right, the engage tool that they really have in terms of long range is Moonlight Vigil with the ability to utilize Gravitum to land that stun. Outside of that, it's all kind of pseudo engage that isn't exactly great. Whereas if you look at the side of the Bumblebee boys, they've got themselves that Camille split push, so they don't need to worry about fighting you as a unit. They don't need to team fight you. They just need that Olaf to get them through the early game, get that power into Victor and into Camille so you can have your wave clear in the mid lane to keep you safe and have your powerful split push power point on the map to really, slowly but surely take away these towers, gain gold, and gain advantage in that side lane matchup, which, as you said before, it's a ticking time bomb. This Aatrox is going to lose to Camille as the game goes on, and that could be very scary if you are a fan here of the side of definitely not washed up.
It's definitely an interesting game one draft. I mean, this is something I would echo that I've seen a lot of development in pro play is the emphasis on flexibility. You rarely see these like single style comps that has like a pure identity where everyone slots in. You pick a lot of different stuff that is usually strong in lane and also has a strong transition into either mid game or just has just good solo lane scaling. So you have as many options as possible to play around, as many tools, because the more tools you have, the more plays you can dictate on the map, and then you get tempo advantage, and tempo in pro play is everything. So that
Yeah.
could be an advantage over for why you would pick something like an Aatrox, because it does give you some more options in the early game. I definitely don't like it. I do want to see something maybe a bit different that gets sort of self-suffice, because he really needs to get ahead. Otherwise, because he gets outscaled, as we mentioned, he is going to be more of a chain for his comp than an additive, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we will have to see whether or not you can make up with that with just pure performance, really make that pick stick and show a level of control and knowledge on it to make up for the fact that it might not necessarily fit the composition perfectly. However, it is going to be an important point to see whether or not that pressure will come through. And I think, I mentioned it before, that side lane situation, but I think that it's going to be very much dictated by the early game pathing of the junglers as well, right? Because you need to punish this matchup if you're the Aatrox. You need to be gaining 10, 20 CS leads, getting those plates, getting yourself just pure advantage. And if you can't do that, it becomes very hard, I think, to play the game if you are Mad Max or in the top lane. So we'll have to see whether or not Big Humble Giant can come up there and make his life a living hell, or whether Love-Jurgen, as you mentioned, is going to be able to come up there and sort of fix that game state, set his top laner up for success, and really control the early game to enable his side to really take advantage. Because the scaling in terms of the other lanes, it's definitely not bad if you're on the side of definitely not washed up.
No, this definitely isn't. I mean, you have a Phelios, you have a Seer, you just have this backline who will just outrange, outdamage Bumblebee Boy. So generally how you want to think about engage, right? It's like the comp that has the highest range, they can take it easy. They do not have to engage. If you're low outranged by your opponent, the emphasis is on you to engage. Otherwise, you most likely will get poked down. You will sort of get outforced by the area, and the objective will be taken. So they need to. The emphasis is on them to engage. They have the tools to do so in the Leona and the Olaf. But as I mentioned before, this is an Olaf with no shields, no enablers, into high damage, high DPS backline with a Trundle on top. He will melt like an ice cream on a hot summer day. So
Like
I
a piece of cheese.
really, yeah, like a piece of cheese. Well, cheese, you don't, only if you go to the microwave, man. If you want to sin, but yeah, I'm definitely. He really needs to make this early game stick and sort of protect his lanes. I think he's gonna go hardball into denying this Aphelios and playing on the bot side of the map because that's what he has. A Lucian, he has a Leona. Lucian is kind of the bot lane equivalent of the Aatrox. He needs to get ahead. If you have Lucian Nami, he does have better scaling now than he used to because his calling kind of scales pretty well and it's very relative short cooldown, so you can still do a lot of stuff in the late game. But he still doesn't outscale in the Aphelios. So he really needs to sort of put on the aggression. And here's what I'm looking at. Two players I'm looking at. I'm looking at jungle for both teams, so Big Humble and Levhagen, but also Ter. Ter has a really important job of mitigating this Olaf's early aggression and stopping Bondo Petit for doing the plays that he wants to enable his more snowbally teammates, like the Lucian. And if he can stop that and secure his Aphelios lead, they will be in such a good position to sort of take this game to the later stage and then have a lot of objective control. Now, we mentioned that there is still a split push option in the late game, which is what I like about this game. It's going to be really fire. It's because both teams have options at every stage of the game. You have the Aatrox that can sort of help the side of Definitely Not Push Up to transition through this mid to early game when they might be a bit weaker. But you also have the late game scaling in the traditional front to back carries. But on the other side, you have late game split push. You might be weaker in the team fights later on, but you still have that silent pressure to always play around.
Yeah, the question to me is going to be whether or not you can maintain enough mid control to allow you to do that, right? Because that is the area of the 4-1 split push or 1-3-1 split push that people don't talk about enough, right? They always say, you have that winning side lane, but if you're crumbling elsewhere, it becomes very, very problematic. But as we just say, that will be the big sort of talking point. Is that split push able to come online, or is the team fighting power of Definitely Not Washed Up going to be able to come to fruition in this one? And do you have a younger sibling by any chance, Cheese?
No, I am the younger in this equation.
Have you ever played the game with your sibling where you're in a fight and the older sibling just holds your head and you just can't reach? That's kind of what this game feels like, where they're just sort of swinging, nothing's landing. That's kind of the situation here when you draft Azir, Aphelios versus a Lucian. You're just sort of like, please get into my auto range, please. I'll deal damage, I promise.
And then you just jump head first with all your energy, and if it doesn't work, you're literally screwed. Usually they just go out of the way so you fall on your face.
Yeah, that's literally what it's like. That's what Relentless Pursuit is going to be like this game later on. However, Lucian buffs do help with that a little bit. Obviously, the culling going to come through. But I think that's why it's important that you mentioned the fact that Gold Excellence needs to make sure you're getting that advantage using Lucian's early power. So then when you do dash forward, you're just one-shotting people, and then it doesn't matter. At that point, no hand is going to stop you. You're just going to smack that thing away and absolutely demolish your opponents. So we'll have to see whether or not that Lucian can cut the distance. And, keep your eyes on the junglers, like we mentioned, and the support matchup too. We are
going into the loading screen. And here, I just want to highlight some runes. We have very standard. We have Azir actually going for combat, which is usually what you want to go for when you want to retain a bit more control in the lane and a bit more early pressure, which does harken back to the thing that mid control is pretty important in this game. So I think that's a really smart keystone to go for rather than to go for the little tempo and go for the full scaling, because you will have a scaling no matter what. So you still need to make sure that you can have some sort of control in the game. And I don't think he can outpush Victor once he gets this laser, because it's Victor. So it's very hard to do that. But I want to harken to this is a Conquer Ghost Smite Olaf, and you can't really run Predator that well anymore. And I know Conk is strong on top lane Olaf, so I guess he's trying to do a bit of a fusion with still having some speed ups. So I'm not an Olaf expert. I haven't seen the pick in a while, so I mean, the cards are up for me. I want to see what he does with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what happens with the Ghost Conqueror Olaf. And, you know, in a way, I guess it does make some sense, right? You're just going to press Ragnarok and you're just going to sprint at people, and hopefully that'll make everything work out. Obviously, that does come with its own fair share of problems. As we load into the game, I'm seeing a lot of pings towards the bottom side. So it seems to me as if the Bumblebee boys, they're happy to get things going, get it aggressive. And I love me a little bit of early game aggression, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to see some. We always like to see these invades. I mean, maybe not too much, because then if you play by play, the voice does give out if they are gonna go too crampy, and I don't get to speak as much. But we'll see what happens. We actually have an early invade coming in there.
So maybe they're going to be kind to you and let you rest your voice, because as you say, Tear might be caught out. Bondo Petit is going to land the Zenith Blade, and suddenly there's trouble. The flash is forced immediately from Tay. Nice invade from Bumblebee Boys, and they get themselves exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, definitely sure. I mean, this is just good. I think I love the sense to try and poke the enemy a little bit. You know, use go early, see if you can get any advantage. Like this flash is really important. We said how important this support matchup is, and Tay really needs to be on point with his plays, with his positioning to save his allies from the Leona's aggression. And if he has no flash, now he has to be careful himself, so he doesn't get caught himself. So, I mean, this might be a really big thing as we see this lane free players. We also see that he went exhaust, he did not go ignite, they are full on defensive, and he has no flash. So I definitely wouldn't expect if we see some early bot ganks, but meanwhile, seems
I like
they're smelling
this.
this.
I think this is definitely not washed up favored as well if they do end up taking this 2v2. So my eyes are firmly on the top side. And we got ourselves a brawl in the early game. Ghost to run away, my friend. Goodbye, Big Humble Giant. However, they're still contesting 3 Qs used by Mad Max. So he's got no cooldowns now. And suddenly the axes are flying. Red side's dying. We got problems. Ignite, Flash, blown both. And Stryth is on his way. You gotta run, Maxa. You gotta run. He is going to get hit by one last Undertow, and suddenly the tactical sweep is going to come through, and Stryth is going to get first blood in the top side. Beautiful stuff from the Bumblebee boys.
Yeah, and this is huge. And we haven't seen Olaf in a while, but one thing Olaf used to be famous for is having one of the strongest level 1s in the game with that to repeated Undertow. And we see a perfect example here. He just does so much damage in the early game. And don't forget, Camille's these days usually running Knight. So we have offensive Summoner plus Olaf level 1. I don't think they realized that they were kind of outmatched there in that 2v2. I like the attempt to stop this sort of bot lane pathing from the Olaf, because there was no flash on Thresh. So if there's Olaf paths bot lane, he's guaranteed gonna have prio. That's what he wants to do. So if they got invaded on them, they might have pulled a split map situation and really forked the Olaf's tempo on the map. But they just weren't strong enough to pull it off.
Yeah, the thing to me is just the amount of Undertow damage that was coming through there, and the Big Humble Giant hit multiple of them onto both members, and it really flipped things around. And you know, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but that flash being gone from Tay is going to be so impactful for another reason, right? And that's Thresh is the protector in that lane. Aphelios usually gets out of jail free thanks to the usage of Lantern. So the fact that you don't have flash to reposition your ready carry as well is going to be huge. And because of that, as well as that mistake early on, Lufjörgen, you know, forced towards that bottom side in the pathing. And you know, how do you see this impacting the rest of the game?
I mean, it's really huge. Like, I'm putting Tay on a lot of microscope because he is the main defensive tool. Obviously, he needs to be on point with his lantern positioning, with his plays. Defensive, but meanwhile, we have a bit of a big fight in the top lane.
Yeah,
But
Stryth chunking, beautiful stuff from him.
yeah, so, and one thing I want to harken back to before we go there, like, there was also first blood on the top side, and we said our swing in this matchup to be like, Aatrox needs to get ahead. He is not on a great start right now. Camille has already been able to back and gotten herself a Sheen. So, I mean, that matchup is already starting to swing in a really poor way for the side of Definitely Watch Out. And, yeah.
I mean, it's a matchup that we were expecting, you know, that Camille starts to win as the game goes on, right? Well, she's winning it at level 4. She doesn't need to wait now thanks to that early optimization, as you say. So, very, very scary stuff in the top side. And, you know, let's just take a look around rest of that, because at the moment, this top side matchup, it's rough, but at least there's, you know, some shining points around the map, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I just feel so bad for Definitely Watch Out side right now, because not only do they not gonna have prio on this bot lane because the flash are being down, so this Olaf has a bot side prio, but they have been able to salvage this with the sort of early play. They actually sneaked the bot scuttle really fast, which was really great. from the side of Löwhagen because he does not have prior top lane anymore because his Aatrox is losing hard. So he cannot go for that, which is what he wanted to do. But he made a quick decision, realizing that he's going to lose this bot lane as well. So he needed to just sneak that Skarlet away before the Olaf came in, and he managed to do so. And I think that's a really just smart decision from him, as he's now sort of been able to stay a bit more equal in the jungle. But he's still some camp behind on tempo. So that's probably going to impact him a bit as well.
Yeah, was able to avoid that double cramming situation, which is sort of the worst case scenario. So great stuff there, as I say, from Löwhagen to adapt the pathing around that sort of early inconvenience mentioned. And, you know, doing our little sort of checks, we got that early dragon spawning now, and both these teams, they're taking their time to sort of adapt around it. But I'm loving this engage coming through here from Venti Petito, and a beautiful little bit of hook action from Tay. Nice usage of the full potential there of Thresh, really, to keep his AD carry alive and get a solid trade there for the red side.
Yeah, and as we're sort of stabilizing, we're about 5 minutes in. Drake has spawned, and while there is a big diff on the top side, so I do expect this Olaf to travel around there. We actually have a fight in the bot lane.
The flash is, the ignite is blown there, and Dark God takes quite a lot of damage. We got fighting the top side too. Golden Excellence wins that one out on the bot side, as does Big Humble on the top. Both sides blue winning. The Zenith Blade, they found a Trundle though. They weren't expecting that, and love Jurgen. You're gonna be there. Pick up a double, my friend, because your timing is perfect. Flip that around for definitely not washed up.
And that's also Drake. That was looking really great from the Bumblebee boys in the beginning. It's gonna look really good as the replay comes in. And now we're looking at the spotlight fight. It looks like they're trying to push this in and not create a face. And then Leona ends up getting that Cruise 0-2 a bit late on the cleanse there. Means that he stays over for a long time. And yeah, then we just have the split play on the top side on the jungle. But they don't see that Löwhagen has path down, and it's a great response. You know, probably checking that his bot lane is in trouble and is crucially able to pick up this double and sort of stop the bleeding from his team, because it was looking really dire.
And it's not just stopping the bleeding for your team, right? He's turned his own matchup around as well. There was so many issues with that initial situation, but, you know, Olaf got an assist early on, but now the kill gold is about even. I love that from Löwhagen, saw the fighting, moved to it. And that just sort of shows the importance of these junglers to adapt their pathing, right, to the way it needs to be. And to me now, you've got to try and move the gold elsewhere. And where do you move that gold to now if you want to be on the side of definitely not washed up? If you are Löwhagen, you're ahead, you're the carry, who do you impact? Well, clearly it's the mid lane, because Zorka XL is in a lot of trouble. The pillar's coming, Löwhagen's got a bite out of crime, and goodbye Victor. Meanwhile, an excellent flash from Artie to keep himself alive, and a good play from definitely not washed up.
Yeah, but as we say, Löwhagen is snowballing right now. And as the jungler, when you get the lead, you're able to impact these losing lanes and sort of get them back. I think Aatrox is just a single ship. I don't see the point of sort of getting him back into the game, because he is going to get that scaled. I think now you just have to double down as going to the mid lane and going to the bot lane and getting your carries, late game carries, enabled as fast as possible. Because the sooner they get online, the sooner you have agency within the game.
Oh,
we also have a fight in top
no.
lane.
Stryth has made a mistake with the hook shot. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. Mad Maxer is coming in. The flash is blown. The death comes through. Goodbye, Camille. Hello, solo kill. But
Oh, a
in the
Hex Tech
meantime-
Flash?
Yeah, bot side. We got the Hex Flash. A little bit of Zenith Blade action. A little bit of tear going down. Goodbye, Golden Excellence, because Excellence is exactly what it is. But the turnaround, the chakrams are too much. Let's go, Dargon. Flip it on its head, but Golden Excellence will not have any of that. It's a double for the Lucian.
Yeah, no 200 years today. He does have the guns there, and he was hiding back, and it was looking good, but he just simply does not have the damage at this point in the game. And this illusion is just snowballing further and further ahead, and this is looking really well as Bombos. As you see across the map, yes, you have Löwhagen with 3-0, and yes, he's turned his matchup around, but all the crucial targets, the Camille, the Lucian, are snowballing for Bumblebee boys, which is gonna set them up great going into this later stage of the early game, into the mid game, where they should be able to exert a lot of pressure and a lot of control by rotating this Lucian around the map.
Yeah, the Bumblebee boys, and as you say, the gold has gone towards that bottom side. And you know what? We talked earlier about how certain lanes had to get going.
Yes.
And who was it that we said had to get going?
Oh,
It
you
was-
know, the Lucian.
It was the Lucian. And how is he doing? He's 3-1. Your boy's popping off. Golden Excellence is in an excellent state. And I love it, because it means that now you have that power to fight the Drakes. You have the power to fight the neutral objectives. And I want to see Bumblebee boys play towards that. However, there is a bit of an invade action here towards the top side. I think Big Humble Giant's in a little bit of trouble. The Ragnarok is popped, so should be absolutely fine to run this one out. However, Shifting Sands is blown. Otti gonna go in, but nothing to be found.
Yeah, a bit of a cheeky try there. I'm not sure he does have a bit of a mid prio.
Zorka, you're alone, my friend, and when you're alone, you're gonna get smacked down if there's two. Lofjörgen makes his mark felt for the 4th time as another kill for the Trundle.
Yeah, this Trundle is just snowballing harder and harder at see if he can. I think he might even want to pop this Herald in the mid lane. He does have to be careful the reinforcements is coming down here. But like, okay, so they got the Drake, which is good for them because they have lost bot side pressure, which means that this Drake control is going to be hard on all of them. But they are actually looking maybe at the play on the bot side. I do see a bunch of question mark pings from the boost. They know that this is going on. They know that the side of Bombos are trying to make a play here, but looks like they're just gonna pick up their blue buffs, pick up their gold, and go and spend some of that hard-earned cash.
Yeah, as you
But-
said, they got that money to spend. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As the macro mastermind, you have this Herald. Your Azir is ahead. Your Aatrox is struggling. Your bot lane's Where do you go with this Herald to get the best impact you can for your team?
Okay. So generally, how you want to think about Herald is the best thing is always to put it mid lane because you not except for the gold, you pressure the turret that is the most important to get down for map control. I think this is something that is just really great because remember, also when you think about the bot lane, which lane does Bumblebee Boys want to lock? They want to lock their bot lane, so they want to get this bot lane turret down as fast as possible. But the reverse is also true. If they lose the bot lane turret, then Lucian has no idea to stay bot. He can roam mid. So they want to keep this lane state as long as possible for their Aphelios to get as much gold as possible. So yes, it might be tempting to get the gold, but unless you can get a turret off this Herald play bot lane, I don't want to put it bot lane. I would rather put it mid to sort of give some over gold to this Azir, also needs it for the snowballing. And the pro there is also, if you get the mid turret, you can push your ward line and you get much more control over this Drake area. I might have to stop talking as we have an engage.
Hello, Zenith Blade. We got another engage from Bondo Petit, but it's a 2 versus 4. The Solar Flare is massive, though. Look at the Victor over the backside. It's a beautiful flank. You've never seen a Victor flank like it, and my God, Golden Excellence picks up 1. Zorka's and it'll take you 2nd. And my word, Bumblebee boys, they find something out of absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, I think they look like they stumble a bit on the vision. They hadn't set up proper vision before they went for the Drake. And so what that means that there was still vision for the Bumblebees to get in there, and they just saw their chance and they went in. I was a bit scared for the side of Bumblebees. He went on really early, and I thought he was only going to be blocked, but he was staying alive for so long and made the time for Sorka to come in and just do massive damage to the backline. And we saw that the backline was a bit split, and the Aphelios, he had the flamethrower, but, I think crucially there as well, Bumblebees, they weren't clumped together, they played it a bit split, they didn't let the AU of the Aphelios take over the fight either, so just really well team fighting coming out from Bumblebee Boys there.
Yeah, and if we can get a replay of that, because the engage, as you say, it looked a little bit off, It's a 2 versus 4 fight, but a 3-man Solar Flare. It just means that Golden Excellence could do whatever he wants to the 1 remaining, and everyone else just gets caught out in the pure damage of Zorka. The laser comes through, the Chaos Storm comes through. It's beautiful stuff, and they're now suddenly definitely not washed up. They're in a situation where they need to drop the Herald, they don't have the timer, so they're dropping it here in the top side. They do have that numbers advantage, but it's not going to be amazing.
No, this is really, I think it's about the time. It's a bit of a forced play.
Oh my word. Unfortunately there for the side of red, you're going to get Ragnarok to deny the Emperor's Divide, and Stryth is going to be able to stall this one out, and in a situation now where you have no numbers towards the bot side, Bondo Petit is going to perfectly punish this Aphelios overstaying, and the cleanse is not enough, unfortunately. Goodbye, Dargod.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happening on the map. I feel like it was a bit of forced Herald play. It was a bit of a difficult one. Yes, if they get the charge, they get the turret, which is something to sort of get this Aatrox out of the things, then maybe it can impact the map a bit more. And since it's only first turret, you're not too afraid of the split push pressure from the Camille. So I can see the idea, but it feels like they just did it before checking out the map state. So Bomber Giants, he was on the top side. He could easily just go up and react to this, and that Herald ends up doing very minimal.
The only thing I worry about is even if they took the tower, what's stopping Stryth from just freezing at the inner tower? There's
Yeah,
no
nothing.
reason to ever be pressured, and you have teleport advantage. So suddenly, even if you unlock top, Mad Maxer is just absolutely doomed. There's nothing you can do there because you're behind. Camille is on item spike, you're not. And she can freeze on you. And you can't step up because you don't have mid tower. Even if this play works out, it doesn't work, I feel. But Stryth now fighting Mad Maxer, and that was a poor trade for Stryth, and he's still doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, he is accelerated really far. And just look at the items on the top lane. We have components and scrap for an Aatrox who's supposed to be building this matchup a bit early into a Camille who's just a mythic into Tiamat already completed. And we actually have some more fighting in this river. It looks like, no?
The get out of jail free card has been pulled and Ragnarok is popped. Goodbye to that fight. But it does mean now that that second Herald is going to be started up here for I Love Jurgen. And realistically, with no Ragnarok, that's going to go up freely. And we'll have to see now if Definitely Not Washed Up is able to utilize this one a little bit more effectively than the last one.
Yeah, I mean, it's pre 40-minute Herald, and I think they popped it there just to see if they could get some plate before they popped. Now plates have been popped, so now it's just purely going to be used to see to open up a turret, and I really want to see them to try and get this mid turret, because then they sort of step a foot back into trying to get some map control, because if you look at the vision now, they actually have some decent vision stuff down, but it's going to be really hard then for maintaining that if they do not have this sort of turret line decreased in the mid lane, so that they can freely get access to the sides of the enemy jungle.
Yep, we will need to see if they're able to find that window of opportunity, though, to clear out that mid tower. The power of Victor Wave Clear is always an issue. The Stryth might be having some issues because Mad Max, despite the item difference, is finding good trading patterns, and with the jungler nearby, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, you have to be really careful. I mean, we haven't touched too much about the two junglers, mainly because they have been able to do a lot of action, and the jungle master is kind of become redundant with all the fighting and kills that has been going up. But these two, they have silently been trying to do their own thing, and there's so much action. And I feel like the Olaf, he tried to be a lot of topside and snowball this Camille. He's put a lot of X in the sort of strife basket, which is one of the competitions. I mean, after you have 3 on bot lane, you don't really need to do more than just cover, because that, and be there for the Drakes.
Oh,
because
the
that's very
timing.
Oh, they almost got the first turret there. That's sad.
The timing there, the first tower actually goes to the Bumblebee Boys bot lane. Unfortunately, Mad Max doesn't even get that influx of gold, which is very, very unfortunate if you are a fan of Definitely Not Washed Up. But, you know, as we say, still got the Herald, so you've still got options there. However, that Lucian, Leona, you mentioned, didn't want to allow that out of lane. It's now free to do exactly whatever it wants to.
Yeah, and this is the good one. They can put this Lucian in, and he's going to exert so much pressure. And this Victor can just sit on side in the wave clear and use his TP to join the fights. And meanwhile, this Lucian is going to have full control of mid. And we see this. Like, look at the vision that Bombi has to be able to observe for this. You cannot contest this Lucian. If he wants to get the prio anywhere, he will get the prio. And then they were able to just push a mid and then they get the vision. And then just push again. And then you can go and just execute on the play. And that's just a free dragon, and that's 2 dregs up for the side of Bumblebee, but meanwhile, Dargot is...
Oh no, you can't be there, Dargot. Unfortunately, they're not going to find the full play though, and teleport behind means Mad Maxer is now the one who's in trouble. You thought you were turning on them, but they're turning on you. Ragnaroking into 4 though. Goodbye, big humble giant. What are you doing, friend? Zorka does get the trade onto Dargot though off the back of it. Now, Golden Excellence is in a lot of trouble. Flash forward coming through there from Love Jurgen. Still going to be enough though. Mad Maxer goes down 2. 2 picked up already. It's a 2-for-1 play. Good stuff there from the Bumblebee boys to get themselves exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, and that looked a bit scary because the front line of the side of Bumblebee, they were going in without any sort of semblance of backup from the backline. Because, I mean, remember, this is still a Lucian. He is strong, but he's relatively short range. So if you engage too hectically into the enemy, it's going to take him some while to follow up. And I feel like that's what happened. He couldn't really follow the initial engage of his team. And that means that the Olaf just ends up dropping because he is like it's like a knife through hot butter. He's just going to melt if he's getting focused. But crucially, the Lucian does end up staying alive. And that also means that they can't really push the envelope because they're still not strong enough yet statistically still win out in this fight. And the solution, as you see, 2 items is just too big of a raid boss at the moment to sort of just easily make them be able to turn around that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very odd to me to see Big Humble Giant just go, I'm going to go to Valhalla and just sprint into 3 people. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is still a 1-item Olaf with no protection. However, maybe it was actually a big brain strat to distract the enemy so they could get 2 kills off the backside. So, you know, I'm not one of the
Tactical hint.
players. Yeah, exactly. It's intentional winning of a play because we're not on stage. Clearly, we are not. I'm not good enough to be on the stage, so I can respect it.
Same.
But no, whatever works works, and what isn't going to work, I don't think, is that Herald spawning because it feels as though this time LeFjorgen kind of forced to use it just
Yeah.
purely because it was about to run out.
Yeah, it was about to run out. In fact, he didn't run to it. And I mean, it's second Herald. It's not the biggest value, but he should have just put it mid. I think he should have run Donald Driver mid. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it's wasted. But at least if it hits, you get some shipments on this mid turret. Now it's just getting cleared off by the Camille, and it's sort of wasted that opportunity for them. And now as we sort of get into 20 minutes, but we see like, they are ahead, only slightly. They're only about a 2k gold lead. So I don't feel like the side of definitely more shop in terms of gold should be that afraid. But the thing is, it's where the gold is on. The Lucian has the majority, and the Camille has the majority of Bumblebee's gold. Their carries are the ones with the gold. Meanwhile, in Devon Shop, their gold is mainly sitting on this Trundle, who, I mean, he is strong, but he cannot 1v9 a team fight.
I know there's actually a solution. I know that the shield bow was picked up during that last fight. It was used. I don't think I've ever seen a shield bow Lucian before.
No.
This is new to me. I was expecting the Gale Force or the Kraken Slayer. Is this like a new standard Lucian item, or is this just the one-off to keep yourself alive against that Aatrox?
This is, I feel, just an adaptation that he feels that he would make in the moment. I mean, you could make the argument that because you're so inflated, you don't actually need to itemize that efficiently into damage, and you can just go into the extra bit of safety because you're gonna have enough damage anyway. I do, however, feel like he has enough protection, enough mobility, and it's not like he has that many dive threats. There are 2 bruises that he should easily be able to kite away from. So he could even go to the Kraken to just kill them even faster. And I feel like that would have been the option, or a Gale Force to justify dodging some of these engages from maybe the Asir if he wants to get spicy, or a hook from Thresh. But I definitely don't feel like the Shield Boy is a needed item. I would much rather have been preferring to see a Kraken, especially when you is all these far ahead and you do have some range to play with. But either that or the Gale Force to be able to join your front line in their main engage, because this to me is more of a kite back sort of thing, and you're scared to be dove, but you're the one diving. You're never gonna get doved in this type of team fight. So for me, it's a bit of a weird one. I can see some merits in there. If you want to play more on the edge, you have more survivability in the fights. You can sort of stay in the fight longer, and you do get that range. You might get poked a bit, so early lifesteal will help with that, of course, but it's definitely not something you commonly see now.
Yeah, well, we'll have to just wait and see whether or not those situations in which the shield bow does become the powerful choice arise in this time around. And I like the idea of a surprise Baron here for definitely not washed up, but there's no way it's going to happen with this amount of wave clear available on the side of Bumblebee Boys. And the Bumblebee Boys, they're going to punish that because they got mid prio, and that means dragon time.
Yeah. It looks like Golden Exits, he's not really the man, I think, of item efficiency. You can also see that he's running the Bloodline rune, which is something you run when you want to run, because Lucian generally doesn't build lifesteal in his build, and I feel like if he knew he was going to go Immortal Shield Bow, he should have swapped to Alacrity to give himself that extra piece of attack speed. So I feel like this is more of a in-the-moment vibe buy than a tactical choice, but sometimes, if you go with what feels good to you, comfort always helps you perform, and if this helps him perform, I mean, all the power to him. He needs to carry this game, so whatever he feels like he needs to buy to make that happen, I think is a choice for him. And all eyes are on you now on this Golden Extras. All eyes are going to be on Golden Extras if he can push the envelope into the team fight, because the Camille still needs at least 1.5 more items before she really becomes super scary. Yes, she has to lead over Aatrox already, but before she becomes this super turret melter, she does need a bit more items. So before that point, it's all on the Lucian to be the main threat for the side of Bumblebees, and keep your eyes on him to see what he does in the upcoming team fights. And now, as we sort of are in 20 months, we just got the Great Drake secured by this side of the Bumblebees, and they're now at soul points. So I'm curious to see if they start suppressing the Baron already, or if they take a bit of a breather, establish vision, and use this. They can also use the third soul point to do that, but they are in a bit of a timer in terms of fighting wise.
Yeah, and usually I'm not a big fan of the Cloud Soul. I think the soul itself isn't very useful. But you have an Olaf this game. If there's anyone who's going to pop their ult and needs movement speed, He is the man. He will happily sprint through your entire team, and I'm excited to see what happens if Big Humble Giant is able to pick that one up for themselves and just become a human missile into the backline, trying to decimate Dargod and OT. But at the moment, just sort of starting to stabilize this one, and as we are in this lull state, I gotta know, who is the team that's benefiting from this most? Because we look at the itemization coming through. Zorka just picked up that Seraph's Embrace literally on this current base. You've got 1.5 items now on Golden Excellence. Dargod's on those too. OT about to hit 2 as well. So, during this lull state, who is going to gain the most advantage by playing it slow, and who should really be forcing things a little bit faster?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like there's nothing wrong with doing a bit of a tempo reset if everyone recalls and gets their items if you're ahead to just not take any risk, but they need to force the play now. Like the side of Bumblebees needs to force the play. Otherwise, there's definitely more benefit to the side of definitely watch up because they need their carries. We talked about the late game powerhouses, Seer and Aphelios, but remember, these are 2 carries that heavily depend on items to be effective. So the more time they get to scale, the better, and they can just definitely wait this one out, and if they get the items, they can start turning around some of these team fights. So definitely watch up. Are definitely happy getting somebody in the room, and that early dragon that they got actually is bailing them out a ton, just giving them some extra room. But that window is surely shrinking as we can just look at this dragon timer. It's slowly ticking down. It's 2 minutes mark now, so the setups should start to be coming in with the vision for both teams, and looks like different workshop. They might have a good idea here. They're hovering on the Baron area. Maybe they're designing the Cloud Soul. Not that important, but Baron will help us stall the game. Will help us keep the enemy from pushing, get us scaling even more. So maybe they look for a trade objective here, which I definitely wouldn't. Say no to.
Mad Max has been caught trying to stop the minions, and that means that Scythe is going to go in. However, Strife is getting traded back on pretty well by the Aatrox. Oh, never mind. Precision Protocol slaps right back. Goodbye, friend.
Yeah, 2 item Camille showing us what happens when Camille gets items. It's not exactly a fresh champ to play into, and that's what we say. She is a side-hit monster. If she gets to scale, you do not want to play with her. But meanwhile, Bumblebees, they realize they're on the top lane. They're now starting up the Baron.
Yeah, what it means is they've got the power. They don't have to do this. They're just bringing members here so no one can answer Strife, because Strife is gaining advantage. He has the teleport available on that Camille, can easily come to join. And look, most importantly, look at that wave being denied in the bot side if no one answers it. Someone's got to grab that thing. And with the dragon spawning in 45 seconds, you got to get that tempo reset if you're the Bumblebee boys. But that's a great solo kill from Strife.
Yeah, definitely great and created that pressure, but it's not enough to get the Baron there as we saw. It's not big enough. I mean, this Aatrox is not really the big pressure point right there, and I think they could have maybe gone for it, as they did still have TP on Camille, so she could have joined. So if they wanted, they could have pushed the envelope. And yes, they are ahead, and they didn't want to give away crucial shutdowns, but the clock is ticking. I feel like they're gonna forego the chance of playing it slow and steady. They need to still accelerate the game. They do have Drakesol coming up, and they're gonna have to use this as their pressure point. Bit late on the vision setup, but they're here now, and this does mean that Mad Max does have to be careful with Fishstick in this.
So from a pure theoretical standpoint, with the possibility of them getting the soul and putting Elder on the table, should Bumblebee boys take this Cloud Dragon and give the opportunity for Elder to be given over?
I mean, I think the better one is always just to go Baron, unless you can get both. I think that it's weird that Different Watch doesn't rush Baron here, because that's just a Cloud Soul. You need to trade something, but they're just going to give that up, and that just brings full autonomy for, Bumblebees to just get both, and that's the ideal scenario for you. Normally you would say that Soul is value, because Soul is permanent, Baron is only temporary, but with the Cloud Soul, it's not really that impactful. The Clouds themselves are more impactful, as cooldown reduction on ult is very good for champions like Lucian, like the Leona, and the Olaf, but other than that, it's not really the most impactful Soul, but it's giving them something. I would definitely want to see them Baron, because they need to end the game. They don't need more combat power, they need to end the game. So Baron is something they just have to take down, because without it, there's still a Seer Aphelios. It's great wave clear. I don't think they, with their short range carries, they can siege well against the conference that they're washed up. So in order for them to crack the space open, they have to get this Baron. So that's why I wanted to push them the envelope a bit before with the Camille TP. They really need to get this down before the side of the shop can come back by farming up these waves. And we can already see it in the items. Death Cap needlessly and the Oblivion already completed for the side of this on the Azir. So I mean, he is getting scary. We have 3 item Aphelios as well. So they're definitely getting them.
Yeah, she may not be in this game, but Oriana would say time ticks away, and that's certainly true within this game. Currently approaching 30 minutes in that one, and the scaling is starting to come online for both sides. That Camille split push is an absolute monster now for Mad Max to deal with, but that Azir and Aphelios is slowly starting to come into this game, come into fruition. 3 items now here for Dargod. Definitely scaled up and powerful. Nice interplay engaged though. Here comes the fight. Bardo is not going to get too much, unfortunately. However, the Moonlight Vigil does land on bottom members and good chunk is found. So you got to turn around if you're the Bumblebee boys. However, they're gaining advantage bot lane. But so the flash forward is forced here from Mad Max. He's got to try and push, but he's caught up, stunned up by the gravity field. Goodbye, my friend. And now the front to back is going in. Ragnarocking straight through is the humble giant. He's going to be happy to melt 3 of you down. Strife comes in with a TP. Make it a 4th. He doesn't get it, unfortunately, but it's 4 kills for the Bumblebee boys, and they are happily in the driving seat. Give them the Baron. Give them everything they need.
And do you have the Bankman ready? Because if that wasn't a wallet smash, I don't know what is. Because what you see there is just a big ass fight, and Different they don't get to set up in this normal front to back setup and keep this fight being slow and letting their DPSs make the damage. But I don't think that would have mattered, because like even if they done that, they're just getting smashed because there's too much of a gold difference on the carry, still on the Bumblebee boys, as they're just really far ahead on this Ocean. And he's now going to get even further as he is going to complete this 3rd item and get this Affinity Edge, and he's now going to be ridiculously strong as well as defensive with that shield bow. And now they have the Baron. Now they have to look to end the game. I feel like if you don't end the game on this push, I feel like that's not a great look for you going forward if you want to be a contender to win this tournament, because you need to show that conviction now that you are so far ahead. You can essentially dive the enemy under their turrets, I feel like, with no problems with these tanky members, and they really need to push the envelope and set up a good 1-4 here. We all see Camille. She's packing towards the top side. She has some wave to work with, and now the side of the rest of the bombers, they just have to play this slow. You're a 4-man, you're waiting for your Camille to push in. There's no way this Aatrox can even stand a chance in the 1v1. He will get dove under turret if he's not careful, and then the Camille can just push this wave down. So as we see, bombers, they're correct, they're backing off. They need to use this Baron effectively, but that doesn't mean bomb rush like, monkeys. That means taking it slow, waiting for that Camille to hit that turret, and as she does, they can start pressuring the mid as well. And then we see top wave is crashing, and now we see Bumblebee boys, as this is happening, they're starting to step forward, they're starting to sort of chip down turret. They're a bit delayed by the Azir, but look, Camille, like Aatrox, he's just watching. He's 3 levels down, but now the response comes in.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're going to be getting caught up in Strife. They're going to try and turn around to take big damage out of the Camille, and suddenly it's an escape from Strife. Beautiful stuff there in the top lane as the Solar Flag comes through. No stun onto the Azir, unfortunately, as OT going to be able to kite this one away. Bondo Petit going to go in. Nice re-engagement to Dargod. Goodbye, my friend. And suddenly, all the members have definitely not washed up. They're trapped under that top lane inhibitor tower, and unfortunately for you, here comes the stop. Thanks to the W coming through, a little bit of that light being strung straight into the face of the members, and you gotta feel like the game is slowly but surely ending as they're hitting the towers. Ragnarok forced here by Bokumble Giant to not actually die to the tower, but with a 2 members dead and a 5v3 situation, it's an easy finish for the Bumblebee boys, who will take game 1 in this best of 5.
Yeah, and what a game. It was a lot of back and forth, but I felt like Bumblebee boys, they were just edging out on all of these plays. And I feel like a lot of misplays come out from definitely watch up. It's problems we have seen before with sort of just random overstaying and not exactly, knowing exactly what they needed to do. Löwhagen, he's tried his best, but he is not there to carry. He's there to get the carry of his team the gold and not himself. So, he tried his best, but it definitely wasn't enough this game. And yeah, that's game 1 going over to the side of Bumblebee.
Yeah, as you say, Lufio, an excellent attempt in the early game. I mean, the turnaround play on the bot side to get that double kill was beautiful. I loved that sort of attempt, but it felt like the wheels fell off, right? Like they couldn't transition that lead. And however, are there any sort of bright spots here? Is there anything you see and you look at that makes you go, this isn't, they can turn this around. Game 2 is going to be very different. Or is this a bit of a rough one, and maybe you've got to make some adjustments in pick ban?
Well, I feel like it's weird. It was a bit weird of the draft that we touched on with the Aatrox. Sure, you have a weak side bot and you can sort of play around that. But if you pick I think that was just unfortunate level one, and I do feel like in generally that I'm wondering a bit like they just needed to play more around the win condition. Win condition was the S tier in Philips. I don't think that they just didn't get the execution off in their draft, which doesn't really scream to me that there's a draft issue. I don't think picking stuff generally was the problem. Maybe they look at banning out the Lucian as that's a very strong pick at the moment, and if they don't pick it away themselves, that could become an issue. But generally, I feel like their draft was okay into the enemy. They just needed to execute, and they faltered. So now I think you take sort of mental reset. That's just warm up game, and you try and come in game two, re-energize and just try again. And hopefully this time you hit your marks and you don't sort of get caught up in the sideline. Maybe you just need to warm up a bit. So yeah, execution is what I'm looking at for them. I don't feel like draft they can sort of did it okay. I feel like it's mainly just they need to go on execution, and if they can't execute on this pick, maybe they just have to go full comfort. That's always the sort of backup of backup of backup plans where you go full comfort on everyone just to make the execution stick. But in this late in the tournament, you can't really afford to do that if you want to win. You need to be able to execute on your strategies.
Absolutely. I mean, execution is everything because we can do all the theory crafting we want in the world, but if you can't control the champions to their maximum potential, really get the result, that's always going to have issues. And I think it's definitely important that you mentioned the fact that we are so late in this competition. These things need to be patched up, right? Team synergy issues or specific champion mechanic issues is something that needs to be sorted. And I'm excited to see sort of where this one does go because this Lucian pick, it looked good, but the Camille pick from Strife looked terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, that was just really strong, and I feel like he just got that first blood and ran with it. Like, no mercy from him. He went straight for the juggler, and I mean, this is a strong top laner I see here right now. Like, he's gonna be scary, and he's definitely got it in watch. It's not something like now they're not on the blue side, so they can't even counter pick top. Now Bumblebees are on the red side, so they have top counter pick, which makes him scary. They even gave the counter pick away last time, which I think was a detrimental wrong. They need to adhere to the strengths of the different side. The red side is counter pick side. It's where you get the counters, and you need to utilize that. There's a reason why people do it. If you're not the mastermind, you don't have to be. You can just do what works and trust that your players are the better players and the better team. But I feel like otherwise you shouldn't have said it before. But I'm really scared for them to watch up and get two. And Bumblebees, they're looking really hot going into this because they now have a red side pick with this apparently stronger top laners. So I am excited to see what they do with that.
You want to hear my draft prediction?
Yeah, hit me.
Mid lane control mage on 4, split push champion with winning matchup on 5. If you're on the Bumblebees, I know that's a crazy concept, but I feel like if Camille is open, it's going to get picked again. I think if you're on the second ban phase as a member of definitely not washed up, you have to ban Camille in one of your final 2 bans on the blue side in your second phase. You got to take it off the table. If this gets given again, that's crazy to me.
Oh, I guess we're going into second game already. Like, no pauses here. We're already in the second draft. So let's see what they end up doing. We have discussed the plans a bit, and we'll see if that ends up going to fruition. As we say, Camille is something that we're looking at to probably not want to be given over again. We'll see what they do with their first because they do have a bit of priority. I would ban out either Lucian or MF and sort of secure the other one. And as we see, Lucian ban straight off, just taken off the board. I really like this. I think it was too strong to sort of justify leaving up in the first place. And now, if you don't want to first pick it, you still have the MF, and that sort of puts the balls in the enemy team's court. To sort of, do we let it up? Do we ban it? What do we do? They look like they want to ban another OG first pick with Xin Sao. I feel like now there are so many good R1 or 2 answers to Xin Sao that it's not really that scary to me anymore. Yes, he's a good champ, but there are so many power picks in the meta that 1 power pick for 2 power picks is just stronger on the red side, and that's why we see red side being favored a lot of the times in the recent meta.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw the Xin banned out in game 1 as well, so potentially just some sort of previous knowledge here from the Bumblebees, as they were the ones to ban it out last time as well. So I'm expecting to see fairly standardized bans, the same sort of ones we saw the last time round, as which would be this Xin Zhao as well as this Jarvan that was banned, and then I believe the Graves was banned out as well, the comfort pick. So not too surprised to see this stuff come through, but yeah, to me with this Lucian off the table, if that misfortune comes through first pick, I mean, it becomes problematic. There are things you could play into it. We could see that Aphelios Thresh again, or something that I think should be rising more in priority that we haven't seen a lot of, something like Jhin. I think this champion is very, very strong. But I'm excited to see what the Bumblebees would bring if that misfortune isn't banned away here.
Yeah, I'm definitely interesting what they do. And like they still have this one ban left, and I think maybe the Bard is something you don't want to deal with. I've seen both supporters play a bit of that, and it's like it's one of those weird ones that you don't want to give up too easily. Also, TF's open. If you want to get the MF first pick, you might want to get it open, but they actually go with Lilia, which okay. That's something that is definitely news to me at least. I haven't seen. I don't know if Jungle Bomb, if Gimme
So-
plays that or not. But
So there was in Worlds, I know there was some top lane Lilia action as well as some jungle Lilia. So maybe that flexibility coming through here being a little bit scary.
Yeah,
As
maybe,
well
but
as LeBlanc too, which is a one that again played not super common here though.
it does mean that there's a lot of power picks still open. I definitely feel like you gotta go for the MF unless you have a really strong power pick. Maybe it's a very the Bard is a comfort that they want to go for and they want to give the support that comfort. But that does mean that MF and Mumu is a combo. It's open. You see enemy support. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't lock it in here.
Yeah, the misfortune definitely does make a lot of sense here. I'd be happy to see that one picked up. A part of me is hoping, by the way, that's Bard Jhin. I love Bard Jhin. I don't know if it's good. It's all right, but it's not the best in the world.
I mean, I hate
As
playing
you say.
against it, so.
Yeah.
Oh, Nami. Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, I much prefer the Amumu pick actually into Bard as well. So I don't know. I think Nami is a very big. They're actually looking at the knowledge. It's another engagement. Maybe Bombay Boy Support does not play Amumu, so they're trying to emulate with another one. But there is the hover. Really lock it in.
They're
Maybe
just
it's just
playing
trolling.
around. It's
Yeah, they're
just
just
whatever
playing.
whatever
there
engaged
it
support
is.
we want. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. There
As
we
you
go.
say, the Amumu gets locked in. Known mostly as just the power of their two AoE abilities in Curse of the Sad Mummy and the Bullet Time. Very powerful AoE set. If you can get multiple members in those, you're going to absolutely shred through an entire team with two abilities on their own. So definitely a powerful 2v2 tool as well as team fighting later on down the line. However, more utility currently picked up here on the left-hand side, as well as safety. Ezreal, known for his ability to stay alive.
And this is a pick that we saw. Dargod, he is an adamant Ezreal player I have seen. He really likes the champion. And it does make sense with Bard because there's not a lot of 2v2 combinations you can pick that will beat out that MF and Mumu. So this definitely does make sense. It definitely secures and makes you a lot safer. And we also Hecarim. And they did not watch out. What's up with your OG jungle meta picks? Olaf Hecarim hasn't been meta for quite a couple of patches, guys. I think you might want to get with the times a bit. But I'm decide maybe it's even top lane Hecarim. Maybe it's the spice coming in
Even further back, even further back.
even further back, going OG. I think it was like season 3 or 4 the first time it was played or something. I can't really remember. I think it was like you've done like the Ignite TP hack and it goes spinning. But we obviously have Sack, so we have even more OG jungle picks. We're going deeper in the pool, and I know that Bombi Jungle is a bit of a Sack player as well. So I mean, maybe it's just a comfort that he wants to go for. I guess just enhances their engage by a ton. And also we see that they want to go engage. So one thing I really like to see here, ban Poppy Braum. Oh wait, not Braum because support is big. Ban the Poppy. Ban these disengaged champions that are left that can sort of counter your engage. Do you see an Ezreal and enemy team? The idea would be if they go front to back and if they go Kaipet, they can sort of absorb and avoid your engage, and then they can actually win. Now the Hecarim kind of makes that a bit of an iffy strat as well to go for because he's more of a dive champion. So I don't know what everyone shop is building here. It's a bit hard to predict what they end up going for. But now we see Silas ban. Silas ban, I mean, too strong ultimate already all the time. Sad Mummy. We touched on it before. Always a great pick away, but this means that Set has been open all the games, and finally someone is picking Set when he's open because his top laner is really strong.
And the interesting thing here for me, though, is the Bumblebees boys, they're the ones who are actually building this team fight comp with the Misfortune and Mimuz Zac, as well as, the potential of this set. So to me, I feel like this Ezreal is going to be laning 1v2. Bard's going to go off, and we're going to see ourselves a split push comp come through here at the very end from Definitely Not Washed Up, because I don't think there's a whole lot that you can pick up now on the blue side that can give you enough, firepower to win a like front to back team fight versus this red side composition. So I think now you're kind of pinned into 1-3-1.
They pivoted from set to Syndra, and I mean you still have counter, but if I'm Definitely Not Washed Up, I'm locking set.
Echo.
I'm locking set.
Echo.
Here.
I'm echoing.
Echo.
Oh,
Akali.
damn. So the reason I was saying Echo is known to be a counter matchup into the Syndra, which is really strong. You lose pre-6. Once you get 6, you start trading ult for ult, and then you outscale on the side lane, so you can never die after level 6. You're basically just infinitely winning from then. Akali, a bit more skill-based, does again outscale on the matchup, but it's significantly harder to pilot. And with this blind pick top lane matchup, Set was hovered several times. You have the answer if you want it. You can take yourself the Set, or you can take Renekton, or just go Aatrox again, and they pick Camille. So, Kled. I mean, Camille's bad, but Kled is the lock-in of choice. Kled can be an absolute maniac. Fun fact: some people have been building tank Kled.
Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. I'm disgusted.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say about that. But Fiora into Kled, I mean, that's actually not a bad choice. I mean, all of a sudden, I feel like they got dividends for not picking the set early because they just got a counter eventually. And yeah, because Fiora very good with riposting on the bear trap and kind of gets a free stun off that. So it's really hard for the Kled to sort of play into. Yes, he has the healing reduction counter for the Fiora ultimate, so that doesn't play in, and she has to be a bit careful early game. But she definitely doesn't have that sort of a time in some other matchup. So I like this.
I mean, who needs a full team fight comp when you could just pick Fiora and have a 1-4, but the 4 is god tier and the 1 is probably winning pretty convincingly for most of the match. The only thing of importance here, though, is the fact that Bear Trap on a rope from the Kled can obviously apply Grievous Wounds. I think it's only the yank. I don't think it's the initial hit, if I'm remembering correctly. So then you create this mini mind game of whether or not you can riposte the yank to avoid the Grievous Wounds application, I think. So there is some fun little interactions in this matchup, as well as the ability to riposte charge, but that's kind of but either way, to me, my eyes are on that Bard pick. If you are gonna get something done on the side of Definitely Not Washed Up, it's gonna be by Bard roaming around the map, getting his members going, getting everyone fed in the early game, and just snowballing.
Yeah, like when I'm watching these two comps, I'm really just feeling like the gauntlet has been thrown in top side. We have a big skill matchup going up onto there, and as we see with everyone else, I just feel like on the side of one of these, they just have a more well-rounded identity comp. They have a really clear wombo combo that they can pull out. Yes, you can make the argument that they lose some of that really bit, but with most melee supported states, they can usually cover for that with good roam timings. So I just feel like Bumblebees, they have a strong 4-man, they have a strong team fight, and they have the better split pushing. So in contrary to last game where there were clear weaknesses and strengths, I just feel like Bumblebee boys sort of can outpace Definitely Not Washed Up in the most stages of the game. They might have a bit of a trouble early, but even then, that's only on the top side. So we'll see if that is enough for the side of Definitely Not Washed Up to sort of do anything, because they do have these engaged champions in the Hecarim and the Kled, which can force the plays. But then you also have an Akali. Akali loves the skirmish. Sort of Hecarim not really known for that type of playstyle, especially not after all of his nerfs that he has been receiving. So I Definitely Wash Up. It's a mixed bag of a lot of different things, and I don't really see it how it fits together. But so they definitely have to pull some magic tricks to make this work in my mind. So they definitely have the work cut out for them in this game.
Yeah, but in reality, it's a very difficult situation to be in that sort of drafting side of things. If you are on the side Definitely Not Washed Up, it's going to be tough for them. Like you said, that they are going to struggle in certain aspects, such as the team fighting, such as the split pushing. But you know what they have got in spades? The ability to mechanically outplay. They've got some of the more mechanical champions in this game. You've got yourself your Akali. You've got Ezreal, who's known for being one of the most mechanically, intense AD carries. You've got playmaking potential of things like Bard. You've got the Onslaught of Shadows to disrupt this team fighting sort of composition by, spreading absolute chaos with the fears, and Kled to charge into the backline. And if nothing else, they have dive and chaos in their veins. And to me, I don't know if it's going to be a winning formula, but it's going to be fun to watch if nothing else.
Definitely will be. If we thought game one was hectic, this one is shaping up to be even more. And they definitely have to make stuff happen. I mean, if you snowball on your Kled and your Akali, that suddenly creates an entirely different ball game in these fights. And then you're just sitting there. Like, the main thing, you have 2 tanks in your teams, which are really great, with some high-powered backliners who can deal a lot of damage. But if they fall behind, all of a sudden, all you have is 2 tanks. So then you can't really do as much. But I think Zac, I also might be upset because I think Zac is disgusting. Felix a bit of a sleeper tank because his damage output is illegal. Like, full
Yeah.
tank Zac does way too much damage than a tank should ever be able to deal. I've died on so many occasions by getting dove by a Zac as the AD carry in the backline, and I'm just sitting there being like, he's full tank, I have armor pan, but he's killing me faster than I'm killing him. I'm full build. What the fuck is going on?
You should see full AP Zac. That is a beauty to watch.
I-
He just one shots you with the EWQ. That's it. No ult needed. Just goodbye. You've been popped like the balloon I look like. It's amazing. Does so much damage when he's able to, but just the full tank variation, as you say, is so powerful. And we've talked a little bit about this blue side composition, about how they need to sow those seeds of chaos. They need to find the backline access, kill the Syndra, kill the Misfortune. That's your road to success. What about the other side? How are they going to gain the advantage, and how
Okay.
do they, cleanly execute this one?
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so we have, right, what I've mentioned is the Akali and the Kled. These are your, normally you would call them, I would call them bridgers. And it's essentially snowballers that can help bridge other parts of the comp to sort of get to into the game. And Hecarim right now is a really item dependent champions because they changed it so that base damage isn't good. He needs 80 items to get his damage going, unless he's going full tank, which is just going for the initiation. But since they don't really have that good of an initiation style comp, it's more of a skirmish sort of. It's a weird mix of a skirmish front to back comp in my mind. So I feel like he's just going to go for as much damage as possible and just be a reliable source of engage with the Kled to catch these immobile backliners out and then be able to just instantly kill them. And then with a good Akali flank, then this backline has very limited amounts of him. Because remember, Zac and Mumu, they're going to dive in. They're going to go in and create the fight. And if they fail to lock down some of these mobile engagers, they're leaving Syndra and MF open to just be shredded off the map. And if we get a good flank from Altida and we get a good R Shadow Onslaught from Hecarim, we could definitely see this backline popping up. And that's what I'm looking for definitely the workshop to do. They need to use these dive tools and these engaged champions to get onto that backline, to snap that damage source out of Bumblebee's comp. Because then, as we say, then what you're left with 2 tanks. Yes, I mean, Zac damage is a bit ridiculous, but they're still not going to be able to kill an entire team by themselves. So if they can play split, if they can play on these flanks and not group up too much, they limit the engage potential of the enemy comp, and they can also look to flank this backline and blow them up. They can definitely have a source for a winning concept in these fights. But it's not going to be easy for them.
Yeah. Can they find backline access? Are they able to shut down these key carries in Golden Excellence's Misfortune? Because to be fair, Golden Excellence had an excellent game in our last one.
He sure
Was
did.
6-1, I believe, in the early game. Beautiful stuff on the Lucian. Zorka looked solid in the early matchup on that Victor. Didn't really have any problems, to be honest with you. 1 or 2 issues, but overall very, very solid. Can you access these people and make their lives impossible to play? Make the game unbelievable? Or is that order going to be established by the red side? Can the Bumblebees make sure they get that front-to-back team fight where the bullet time starts deleting people and pausing their lives? There's nothing that can be done if you're locked up. So, lockup versus freedom, control versus chaos, we will see, because we are loading up into the game right about now. And looking at the rune choices, it's all fairly standard stuff, I think.
Yeah, nothing too amazing going on. We actually pressed the attack as the only water digs. are not going for a lethality combat sort of MF, which is sort of what generally winning off with when you get more early game late game control and crit sort of gives you more of a scaling option. You're more auto attack reliant. You're not as reliant to just hit that ultimate and your spells, which I generally prefer because you're not as rigid. I mean, it makes your road stronger, but it makes you commit even more into that R sort of style. Yes, late game when you get full crit bill, you can argue that the ult does overtake with the crit bill, but it takes a while to get there. I'm a fan of the crit bill. Gives you carrying ability. You can move around a bit more. You're not as stationary, which against Anakali and Hecarim and also the Glad is going to be helpful. I wouldn't also expect him going for like a Gale Force option even just to get more as much mobility as he can to sort of dodge that and get it. Because remember, if he doesn't die, his team is looking really great. So we do
Yeah,
have a pause.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you talk about the crit build as well, because I think the build we usually see is the Eclipse variation, right? The Eclipse Sereldas. So I'm excited to see, how that does impact the way this is played out. And I guess the logic is that they have a Kali-clad Hecarim. I never get to sit still. I'm going to have someone on my, so I might as well be able to auto them back and deal some damage and not worry on my ult. So I guess that's kind of the logic, which I can dig. I can understand that, and we do see Mad Max here just drop that early, just sort of set up here, be ready as Lufjurgen did. That's beautiful stuff, beautiful timing. As Lufjurgen did drop that ward, which I believe is going to last probably about as long as this pause does, plus maybe 2 seconds, and then it will be deleted by the members of Bumblebee Boys. Just to sweep that one out early. And it does mean, though, that you're going to gain like a very slight advantage here in terms of experience over to Big Humble Giant, unless Mad Max elects its 1v2 time, which I personally wouldn't recommend.
It's not the best strategy, I wouldn't say, but going on, like usually you see the lethality pill as we talked about on the MF, and I mean, I just want to mention, it is sort of the statistically higher damage build, but it's more limiting in terms of playstyle, and I feel like you kind of are more on the clock with that one, and it does enable you to get ahead more easily. That's not your ultimate goal. If you just want to be consistent damage rush, I feel like the build just offers you a bit more build options in terms of safety with that Gale Force adaptation as we mentioned. So I like him going for this, but we'll see what happens in this early game. Well, hopefully they go for 5-pointing. I don't think there's anyone will take any unnecessary risk in this game too, as it is a bit of a linchpin game, and wouldn't expect too many shenanigans.
Yep, and as stated, it took about 2 seconds after the pause. The ward is immediately gone. Nice little bit of big CS lead here, picked up by Stryth, currently really dominating that top lane matchup. And to be honest with you, he did an excellent job in the last game, so why not give him a little bit of extra oomph in this matchup?
Give him the love.
Oh yeah, give him the. And if you're on the other side, give him the love Jurgen and the love Jurgen, and just try and shut him down.
All Swedish people, I apologize for this.
I am a proud Englishman, and that means that I cannot pronounce anything correctly. If it has an umlaut in it, there is no chance.
I mean, I'm just gonna say the word love and the word love is not really that well interchangeable in if you do it correctly pronunciate it. So, but you try. You make an effort.
It's fine.
And,
it's
and
fine.
I appreciate.
I want you to know that I love every single person that is of these places, and so does this Amua from Bondo, because he's getting right up in Bard's face. Goodbye, Tay, first blood. But look at the turnaround here from Dark God. It's a support versus AD carry fight. The sad dummy might be about to get a whole lot sadder, but it's going to be just the 1-for-1 first blood picked up there for the Bumblebee Boys.
Yeah, crucially there from Mondo Petit, his AD carry drops, but he does have the wave advantage, so that means Dark God can't really go forward too much as he will die to the minion damage. So minions being the hero in that one, but that's a well exchanged with both AD carries actually getting kills, so it won't do too much in terms of laning, but Dark God living does mean that he might get a bit of a CS lead, but he also isn't able to base, so he's also at an item disadvantage, so the immediate advantage actually is going over to Golden X, which now has an extra Luxor in this lane, and we have another engage.
Bondo Petit does land the first one, second banish toss hits as well, and Tay forced to blow that flash this time around. Excellent stuff there from the Bumblebee Boys support, landing multiple good engages so far in the early game.
Yeah, definitely the bandage toss is hitting their mark, and I just feel like when you see simplicity, you see more stuff landing, and Strife looking a bit.
Yeah, good.
itchy.
I mean, it's good stuff. You've procced that early Kled passive, so good state now. Chief of Strife, but Bondo Petit taking a lot of damage there from Dargod. I think we might have to smack some fairly soon, but apologies. We just see the junglers clearing out the crabs and not a whole lot else.
Yeah, I feel like the sack pick, which is great when you see the Hecarim, because Hecarim is not a champion, it's gonna punish you very well early, and that's the only area of it where the sack is weakest in the early stages of the game where he can't get punished. But meanwhile, we see Lovehagen, he's excellently realizing he's such a big lead on Mamaxer, who's getting a vengeance on Strife from this game one, and it's just several years. They might be looking at that. This is a big, slow pushing wave that you're gonna be able to crash. This is really beautiful stuff from the side of Devin Washed Up. And Strife, I don't think you're long for this well.
Oh, it's a decent riposte there from Strife, and Mad Maxer might be in a little bit of trouble. However, the tower aggro is dropped thanks to the dismount, and suddenly it's a nice pickup there onto Strife. Excellent dive there coming through from Definitely Not Washed Up.
Yeah, definitely look at that, but we have another engage.
Engage. Here comes the Humble Giant. Oh, slap them together, but unfortunately that is not going to be enough thanks to the journey. The safety coming through there from the bot side. Good escape.
The magical journey showing up huge, and we have there a bit of a reactive play from the side of the big humble giant. Like, he's trying to make some, he sees his top laners getting a dive, but I would like to see that plate set up a bit earlier when they should realize with these double stacking ways that there is a dive they're going on top side, and they were just a bit slow to react to make their cross-mark play work. And just good response from the side of the Definitely Washed Up bot lane to sort of limit that, and that just means a net neutral win for their team, but the stun lands on mid.
Hello, big humble giant finds OT in the mid lane, but nothing really going to come of that one thanks to the usage of Shroud. Good stuff from the Akali to avoid the gank.
Yeah, there's great play from from the side of Definitely Washed Up's laners. They are dodging these crucial ganks coming out from the Bumblebee boys, and they're now sitting and looking really for how we have another engage in the bot lane.
Ooh, Bondo Petit does hit that first banish toss. The second one going to go wide there, so Tay going to be in a pretty safe spot. Nothing to worry about there. But, you know, this Amumu showing how dangerous it can be. If you're able to hit those bandage tosses, and Bondo Petit definitely able to hit those consistently so far. But here comes that magical journey, and unfortunately for Tay, he's taking a lot of damage. Goodbye, my friend. That's just a donation sensation towards the AD carry. Cheeky little bit of 300 gold there, going into the pockets there. But Strife now in the top side in a bit of trouble. His junglers there to help him out. TP coming in too. Mad Maxer is going to try and turn this around, but with the escape coming through, that teleport kind of doesn't get a whole lot of value.
Yeah, crucially, the Akali not being level 6 there, meaning she cannot close that extra grab and grab those 2 kills, which would have been horrendous from the side of Bumblebee boys, as they finally, with some good bandage shots again coming out from Bondo Petit, are able to sort of get some equal gold in this with these kills on this early game. But now it looks like Mad Maxer, he's in a bit of trouble. I think.
Correct, Celtics a little bit of chunk out of Mad Maxer, and you got to feel like with the corrupting fire, it's only a matter of time. However, every spell being dodged, but not that Dark Sphere. Goodbye, Kled. Nice pickup there from Zorka.
Yeah, definitely. And that was I guess just a bit of an oversight from Mad Maxer. You know, he started to get a bit too greedy there with the plates. It does end up getting punished. A good drum from the side of Zorka, and yeah, now we also have a TP. Meanwhile, speaking of overextend, I think Zorka has overextended a bit himself.
Yeah, Zorka in a lot of trouble. Mad Max utilizing that TP to come back in, and with that charge being picked up, I feel like even if you dodge things, there's no way out. Goodbye, Mad Max, so that's going to be revenge coming through. Goodbye, Zorka.
Goodbye, Zorka, indeed. And that also, meanwhile, that's going on. The dragon is being picked up for the side of Definitely Washed Up, who's actually showing a lot more activity in this early game. I've been sort of skeptical of their champion choices, but it definitely is making them be able to make more and more plays on the map. And they're definitely showing a reason for why it's being picked. It's definitely seeming that their execution and they just look a lot more woken up this game.
Yeah, woken up is the key word there, because it feels as though they're more in control, right? Oh, nice engagement.
Another bandage toss,
though. The bandage toss does hit. Second one only onto Tay there. And I feel as though he's going a little bit too far forward. Golden Excellence not really able to follow up, does a little bit of damage, but not going to be enough to get that kill just yet. But you know what? Bumblebee Boys bot lane looking very good.
Yeah, they definitely are indeed, and I think Bon Appetit is a big part of that. And another one!
Oh my word, the bandage tosses don't miss. Double summoner's force, but here comes the Hecarim. Lufjurgen gonna come in and pick that one up, but Golden Excellence gets one off of the double up bounce. Oh, you hate to see it. Goodbye, Dark Garden. On some bit of a goodbye, there's a gank towards the top side. The elastic slingshot doesn't hit thanks to the dismount, but it doesn't really matter as Stryth gets a kill on the top side there to just turn things around. And you're looking for an execute, but the only execution you're going to get is a perfect kind, because here comes the Akali. Cheeky shutdown, 450 into your back pocket. And now the horses are charging. Goodbye, Zorka. You're in a lot of trouble as Lofbjörgen going to be in the background. The face rush is popped, though, and with nothing left, a nice escape coming through there from Zorka. A lot of action there, a lot of fighting, and a lot of dying.
Yeah, and crucially, Zorka ends up bringing, he doesn't end up there. He does get up the wave, he's punished. Says the Akali even more. She's lost a lot of CS, and even though picking up a kill does help with that a bit, she's still a bit behind in this matchup. But we have another fight in the jungle.
Olaf Ergen going to quite a bit of damage. That's the big humble giant, but he'll be out quite happily. Gonna keep himself alive. Nothing really too scary there. As the game finally starting to slow down the tempo a little bit. As if you're definitely not washed up fan, you can be pretty happy as they did start that Herald temporarily. However, ping's going down, charges available. But I feel as though we finally reached a little bit of a lull state in this one.
Yeah, they are slowing down, which we saw the last game. Both teams team as we said that.
We're not allowed to slow down. I'm sorry, because Tay is caught out. Goodbye, my friend. But the charge is channeled. You gotta feel as though it's being turned around because the Sad Mummy is popped to buy time, buy space, buy the potential to live as the bandage toss comes in. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade now. Big Humble Giant, I don't think going to go down thanks to that passive being available, so no one going to fall too far. It is going to work out, however, as a 2-for-1 favor for the side of Bumblebee Boys.
Yeah, and definitely the Bumblebees, they are fighting back in this one. Definitely watch out. They look to be the sort of a productive team in this one, and they're making a lot of it. But I think Petitibos crucially, and there's constant aggression coming out from this Zac player, man. He is just continually looking for this engagement, looking for this plays. He is a tank, but he's not saying, I'm going to sit and scale. He's saying that he wants to be the early game aggressor, and I feel like they need to get stop this bleeding and not let him get too much leads. Oh, they have a lot of fights going on.
Yeah, a lot of fights all the time. It's not a game if you're not fighting, is it? And not the big Humble Giant, he showed, as you say, he's not a farmer, he's a fighter. And I love that in a jungle. I love to see the early aggression and the emphasis of wanting to make a play happen. I love to see it. So I'm very pleased with the way that they are playing, even if it is a little bit more aggressive than we've seen in other games. But Mad Max are currently dismounted, however. I don't think in a whole lot of trouble, as can stack that one up fairly quickly, thanks to this wave and thanks to Stryth being hittable.
One thing I want to touch on as we sort of, it's not a lull state, we can't say that because then we have a fight as soon as we say that, and we might actually have something in
Did
the
you
top
say
lane,
lull state? Because here comes Mad Maxa versus Stryth again, and now we enter the lull state.
Okay, are we good? Are we good? Can I? Okay, but basically, I want to touch on the crucial scaling here on both teams. Yes, you have the Fiora is obviously going to outscale this Kled as okay.
Yep, lull state doesn't exist. Here comes Mad Maxa again. We got more trading in the top side. Stryth looking for the vital. Doesn't actually go to the right side to hit the vital. And does.
Yeah, and that's a solo bowler in the top lane. Oh, we are fighting mid lane, gank again.
Meanwhile, we might have a 2 versus 1. There's no more single dingles happening here. Nice usage of the Tempered Fate, although a little bit on the later side. You got cleanup crew arriving, and suddenly Zerka might be dying. No one surviving. Goodbye onslaught of shadows comes through, and Lufjurgen going to pick that one up easily. And now Big Humble Giant gets caught out by the Cosmic Binding. It's just a case of taking out the paddling pool. However, teleport being channeled here by Stryth. He's coming into this one, and you know Fiora's angry. Good. By Hecarim. He's trying, but it's going to go wide, unfortunately, on the riposte. Not going to find anyone there, and in the meantime, Mad Max can get himself a couple tower plates on the top side as a punishment.
Yeah, for sure, and that was super. Like, look at this guy. This crucially for the side of the push up. They're delaying the silent threat of this Fiora a lot by getting this solo kills and a lot of plays going on to Kled. They now have so much pressure from this Kled, and they. But that also means that Bombers, they're focusing more on the bot side where they still have some semblance of control and they are able to transition that in getting this Dragon take started. And the thing I want to mention is, yes, you get a bit of good control of the Kled, but Kled's usually a champion that you want to sort of rotate on the map and help out your team, but he's actually going for a Bork build, which is the quintessential dueling item. So he's saying, I don't want to join fights. He wants to fight this Fiora. He wants to stomp this lane. He wants to keep that top lane pressure. And I haven't seen a split push Glenn one, mainly because turret taking isn't that great compared to some of the other options, but he can still just do stuff if he builds up enough attack speed. So this is definitely something new that I haven't seen before. A Bork first item Kled. I mean, maybe he's cosplaying Aurelia, but we'll see what this develops into as we have a lot of contesting in the jungle topside.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited to see where it goes as we got more fighting. It's the Curse of the Sad Mummy coming through, the Banish Toss onto Dark God, and it's a great disengage, honestly, coming through there from the side. Definitely not washed up. However, another Banish Toss hits. I mean, credit where credit's due. Bon Appetit is landing every single one.
Yeah, Bon Appetit showing up really great in this game. And I think in both games, the Leona game on the other one looked really great as well. He landed a lot of crucial skill shots, and I think this support is definitely showing that he knows how to land those skill shots. And it's working out, and he's getting some really great engages for his team. I think if it weren't for him in this early game, this could have looked a lot different actually for the side of Bumblebee Boys. And now, maybe the game is slowing down a little bit. I'm not gonna say you know what, because then there would just be a fight, but okay.
Is it a state that starts with L?
Yeah, losing state, let's say that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay, but meanwhile we have Michael fighting.
We can't even allude to it apparently, because Mad Max has found another opportunity here to settle with his score with Strife. As Strife taking a heck of a lot of damage. He's just been absolutely steamrolled by Mad Max.
Yeah, he wants the revenge for that 1-6 Aatrox game for sure. He's definitely showing up. He's like, guys, I'm on a mission this game. I'm not gonna play for team. I need to pop stomp this enemy top laner.
If I was 1-6, you'll be 1-6, says Mad Max. Taking straight to that 1-3 stage. He's now trying to make things happen to Gold Excellence, who does end up having that shield though pop to keep him alive, but the top tower going to fall in exchange. However, I don't believe got any local gold because of the death.
No, I don't think they got anything of that either. Which is a small silver lining for the side of Mad Maxer, but he needs to be careful to not go too half with his lead and be able to control. But again, we're seeing Løvhagen. He is, as in game 1, he's 4-1. He's the beneficiary of all these kills. And I think that's a bit of a shame because Darkgod showed some good stuff in the tournament, even though they lost. I feel like he's on one of his comfortable champions. If he can snowball on this Ezreal, he could be able to do a lot of work in this late game. So giving him some kills would be really great. But now on the Hecarim, he does have more agency than maybe he did on the Troll, so we'll see if he can make these 4 kills matter and sort of get this backline that are starting to build up some damage. Syndra still waiting on the Mythic though, but a 2 item on this MF. And actually, I want to touch on it. He went Shield Bow again, which I think Galeforce might be a better option because you can outright just dodge the Odds of the Shadows, but I mean, you can't dodge Kletus as SSC, so I guess, but he denies healing, so I don't know. But I definitely think I would have chosen differently personally, but to each AD carry their own. Meanwhile, though, he goes for Doms, which I think is great. I think going Collector is rarely a case of it's better as soon as you get sort of over that 70 armor mark. It becomes really ineffective. And it can be kind of good into these sort of high HP, low armor targets, these brutes like the Hecarim, but I cannot imagine them not buying at least one more armor item with them, so I really do like it. Going in the second here, and paired up with the Infinity Earth third, he will get a lot of damage really quickly.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that potential 3 item spike and how much damage will be being dealt by Golden Excellence. But in the meantime, if we can just take a look at the gold, to me, that top lane situation is terrifying. There's a 2,000 gold lead currently being picked up here from the side of Mad Maxer. And honestly, we said, or at least I thought, the Fiora is the one who's going to scale into this one, being that side lane state. Well, they're scaling, and then you're down essentially in half an item's worth of gold already. It's very hard to scale half an item's worth of gold quickly, so keep your eyes on the timer, but at the moment, Mad Max are doing a lot of damage to that side situation, and Big Humble Giant feels forced to make a play. Nice little bit of CC going in there, but the disengage coming through from Løvhagen is going to end up dissuading the entire situation, really. The back line forced back, the front line forced forward, and nothing really going to come through. And as such, we're just going to see the attempted shot with the True Shot Barrage. Not going to find that one. But I love the play there from Definitely Not Washed Up to really turn that one around.
Yeah, definitely more shot. They're able to keep it stable. They're not panicking with the big ults coming down, and they're trying to turn it back. And a lot of what's happening, I feel like the ults there didn't really stick from either side. They didn't get any crucial targets with both of them, and I think the Hecarim didn't. Even though he is fed, I expected him to do a bit more damage. I don't know how that's making me a bit worried for some of the future team fights that he's going to be involved in. And I want to see that, but the pressure again. If you don't have Ulteria on a flank and that he can isolate the target, it's gonna be hard for them. But Tay is interrupted.
Oh, the CC coming through. Tay, there's the second usage of the bandage toss, and it's a free pick up there. Big Humble Giant going to have to get that one as the teleport comes through here from Strife. The chaos is ensuing, and unfortunately, it seems like the chaos team is losing in the situation, but the perfect execution comes through. Double for the Akali, and suddenly it's all turned around. Mad Max is here, and all of your gold is on the Kled, and even though Strife is able to pick up one, maybe the fight is turning around thanks to the Fiora flipping it on its head, honestly. A double kill coming through in the back end of the fight, and now it's just Dargot remaining. It looked so good. What happened? Definitely not washed up, because unfortunately this Fiora has arrived and turned it exactly in the favor of the Bumblebee boys, just like they wanted it to be. However, Elastic Slingshot is fired, Arcane shifted away, and I feel like that's going to be the end of this play.
Yeah, and a lot of action happening all at once. They're just trading kills back and forth from Bumblebees. They're slightly edging out the lead of this one. And that's what kind of we saw in game 1 as well. Like, a lot of fighting with Bumblebees just slightly coming out ahead. But even though they are ahead gold-wise, one thing I'm looking at is this Kled is 2 items. This Akali is 3 in 1. And these are some of the crucial picks to make the idea of Definitely Not Washed Up work. They need to get these carries ahead so they can wash out the backline. But now, MF is caught. Or Sorka is caught.
Yeah, the catch is coming through as Dargot going to end up dying in exchange, and now it's just a case of running for the hills if you are this bard. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people chasing you, my friend, and you're going to get locked up. Goodbye, Tech. And that's going to be a free double kill and a couple of picks there for the Bumblebee boys. Oh, another one. Scatter the weak, scatter the souls. As perfect execution is used to try and make a perfect exit. Does end up slapping one, but with the ability to turn into a little bit of paper mache, he'll happily survive that one. Nothing to worry about. It's just a free sort of tower going down mid, but it is traded off there in the bot side of the exchange, so not too bad overall. But the onslaught of shadows onto Golden Excellence going to be in a little bit of trouble now, but the turnaround is coming through. Scatter the weak lands as does the Elastic Slingshot. And Lovebergen, you've bitten off a little bit more than you could chew, my friend. However, Strife now in a lot of trouble. We've talked about this matchup. He's going for 1 and 6. It's a 2 and 4, unfortunately. But Mad Max will happily take that one.
Yeah, a lot of things going on all at once and a lot of overstep. But Mad Maxer, he's showing, but he's a bit caught right now. I don't think he's long for this world. He is a bit dead.
Goodbye.
Bye, my friend. Oh, Elastic Slingshot mid.
Yeah, it seems as now Big Humble Giant is going to be getting chunked out as he tries to defend the tower. A little bit of something from Dargod, thanks to the tower, going to be able to keep that one up, thanks to the aggro change. And honestly, it's starting to settle down, but it's great stuff from the Bumblebee boys. They got themselves a cheeky 2,000 gold lead in this one. But that side lane situation is definitely a problem.
Yeah, and keep it up. They do have an option to put 2 people on the side lane. They have an Akali, they have a Kled. So both of them can go that route. And because the Fiora is so behind, you can't really match either of them. So she's gonna be careful, and they now make smart with pushing this Akali on the top side, as this Fiora rather has no MR to speak of. So she's gonna have a lot of tough time to deal with that, I feel like. And as Baron is more and more coming onto the table, they could use this pressure to establish a lot of vision, which they already have done. You can see on the map all of this, the Baron area just littered with blue vision, with one cheeky little control in the Baron pit from the side of the Bumblebee boys. So they at least have some semblance of control, and they're trying to wrestle sort of mid prio here. We can see to sort of go in there and clear the vision and sort of get vision control of his objective. But Drake is spawning as well, so they are keeping an eye on that as well. No team has really been able to want to go in and establish their own vision lines for either side. So we'll definitely have to see what happens there. And it looks like Definitely Not Washed Up, they're getting sort of into this one. They're taking the space. They're first on the Griffin. This does mean the Bumblebees have to be careful. They have to face check if they want to contest. They're right now getting wrestled out of their own
The
jungle.
charge comes through. Big Humble Giant now going to be trying to stall for as long as he can. He's the tank, but he's going low. Beautiful combo coming through here as the Custard Stab Mummy flies through. MF is deleting people off the face of the earth, and you gotta run your way out of this one. Perfect execution gets Strife very, very low, but it's just Dark God against the world, and the power is unleashed onto the Ezreal. Goodbye. Beautiful team fight coming through there from Bumblebee Boys. They'll get themselves that Ocean Dragon easily off the back of an ace.
Yeah, and I don't know really what happened. There was definitely more shots aggressing into this top side, but I feel like for some reason there was some miscommunication. Their team wasn't really on par exactly what they wanted to do. They were a bit split and they got engaged on, and Bumblebee was just great punish there to realize how disoriented the enemy team was, and they get engaged, they get the bullet time, and that's the wombo combo at Mumu MF that people speak of all the time. It does great work when those both ultimate is used in conjunction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a case of they overreach for Humble Giant doesn't work out, but we do now see the Bumblebee Boys. They might have a little bit of situation on their hands because Zorka is caught, and unfortunately, my friend, that Hecarim ain't slow. Onslaught of Shadows comes through. The fear, but he's so low, no one can finish Zorka, though, does end up alive, and suddenly the turnaround, Tay's gone a little bit too far, and this Bard might be in trouble. Slap two together as the True Shot Barrage does end up picking up Zorka in the backside. Good shot there from Dargod, but now Strife is coming in. Strife going to pick up a lot of damage onto the enemy, but going to be forced away. And suddenly, Mad Maxer isn't long for the world either. Does end up going down to the Golden Excellence. And thankfully for Bumblebee Boys, they get themselves a 2-for-1 situation, as well as the potential chase here as Big Humble Giant going to slap you with a cone to the head, as Dark got forced to use that Arcane Shift and is being chased through the own team's jungle. And to me, that means this mid tower can get hit. This mid tower can take damage as it's a 4 versus 1 defense. So, gonna be the pickup here for Bumblebee Boys. And a nice macro play, as well as mechanical play, gets themselves a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, they're good at taking a fight. They're realizing that the 80 carry of this one shot, it's not there, and they're still pushing into enemy territory. They rightly take a fight, because if Darkheart is not there, so much damage is missing from the side of one shot. They cannot take a fight without the 80 carry. Now he has backed as well and has this man immune as we have another fight coming in.
BP flank, Mad Maxer, goodbye Golden Excellence. You're not long for the world, and all the members are very together. However, the Custard Stab Mummy does buy some time, but it might not be enough because a triple comes through for the Kled, and I feel as though this fight is absolutely all she wrote, if you remember the Bumblebee Boys, because that is a clean set of 4 kills. No one falling on the side of definitely not washed up, because they are showing that they've got the power here to pick this one up.
Yeah, definitely, for sure they have, and I don't know if that's a great reverse, great punish. Another overextend. First step was that they overextend into the enemy topside jungle. Now Bumblebee Boys, for some reason, they are overextending and staying over in the spots when they should just be looking for this Baron control, and rightfully so. They get punished, and this means, crucially, when they're looking in between, they get this Baron and can now start wrestling back a lot of control of this map.
They need to set up that vision control, use this Baron, get those towers and objectives. Have definitely not washed up. I mean, it looked shaky for a second. They had control on that top side, but they flipped the play around. And as you say, they've got the Baron. They have the power now to do whatever they want to. And to me, the big point worth noting is who is going to match up against this Kled, because Mad Maxer is looking powerful. He's got a 4,000 gold lead on his opposing number. Strife cannot fight this Kled easily, I don't think. So who's going to match him? The 1-4 is devastating.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm just seeing this Akali has already completed a lot of lines. I mean, I don't think too much gonna happen here. That is a fairly tanky second. He is a little bit of a bard, not doing too much damage there. But meanwhile, the Baron is doing great work. We see Mad Maxer, like Strife, he cannot match. Like, this is so sad to see. Ironically, one of the strongest side lanes in the game, getting outbullied by 2 other solo laners in the Akali and the Kled. They can easily, as you see, set up a 1-3-1, but we have engaged in the mid lane.
Yeah, the combo does go wide this time around, and the re-engage shot using the Onslaught of Shadows is popped. However, we've got ourselves a potential follow-up. However, look at the usage of the Tempered Fate to stall out time. No one can follow up on the beautiful engage from Big Humble Giant, and suddenly you're in trouble now. However, I highly doubt Urti wants to take that one into your own backline. Mad Maxer he doesn't need a wave. He'll just slap the tower. Free pick up there in the top side for the Predators. No one's really able to match up with him, and that's kind of why we see that force come through there from Bumblebee Boys. But it does end up working out. It's just a free tower on the top side.
Yeah, it's and that's again the beauty of 1-3-1. Even though if your 3 fails, you still have your 2 other ones on the sides getting stuff for your team, so they still end up with a net neutral play there. Even though it looked a bit dicey, as they get both turrets on the side lanes, they can now reset and look to get this Drake and kind of get themselves a salt point, which is going to create a lot of pressure on Bumblebee Boys to actually do something. They don't have time to wait, but 1v1 in the top lane. Yeah, that's over very
That
quickly.
1v1 was about as good as me versus my dad. That wasn't even close. Mad Max are just deleting Strike Self Bar. Excellent stuff coming through there. And at the same time, you have the macro, you have the control, you get yourself a dragon. It's great stuff there from Definitely Not Washed Up. And Mad Max are just showing that 4,000 gold difference in full effect there for that flash to do that.
Yeah, Definitely Washed Up. They looked behind. They've been behind for the majority of the game. Not that much though. Still been in contention about that. They're steadily for the first time in the game since I think minute 1 or 5 when they got that first blood, been in a commanding gold lead. And well, it's still actually only, I should say, not be careful with my words, because it's still only about 2k, not even. But can they use this Baron to increase even more? Like, what I see is that this Ezreal is about to hit 3 items. The Sakali is already on 2 items. She's really strong. And then you have this really strong 3.5 items Kled on the top side, which is just wrecking everything. If I'm Syndra and MF in this game, I'm having a really tough time. We already see 2 stopwatches being built to try and survive this engage. That's the name of the game. They need to survive the engages and then sort of return their damage with the wombo. But since the initial CC probably gonna use up early, syncing that up is gonna be really hard to execute.
Yeah, and execution has always been sort of the problem throughout this game, right? However, nice bit of chunk being landed here from Dark Orders. The Tempered Fate is blown by Tay. They're going to set up for this play, and Onslaught Shadows into the back line. But a great stopwatch denies the initial engage, and suddenly the CC is there. They've gone a little bit too far. It's 2 easy deletions, and you've got to follow that one big Humble Giant. He tries to go in, tries to use the Elastic Slingshot, but it's not going to find anyone as Tay with a great bit of disengage, utilizing that magical journey to try and keep himself alive. However, 2 members going down is massive for the Bumblebee Boys.
Yeah, Definitely Watch Out. They get the control, but they overreach just slightly with that dive. Yes, you're ahead, but you're not that far ahead that you can just ignore a turret, which initially can be touted as having 3 extra champions on the map in your fight. And with that extra buff and backup, Bumblebee Boys are able to turn around the fight and punish the over aggression severely from Definitely Watch Out. They now get an inhib turret in the mid lane. Or like inhibitor and turret, I should say.
3B able to pick up that inhibitor for themselves. They've done an excellent job. They're going to take those resets, get themselves that gold. And with the teleport being blown here by Otti, keep an eye on the Akali flank coming around. It's far away right now as Tay does end up getting cleaned up. But here comes Mad Maxa. The solo laners are here. They're ready to take this one and go in as much as they can do. But realistically speaking, I'm not sure how much they can do. However, Gold Excellence has gone down. Everyone is falling apart. And unfortunately for Bumblebee Boys, they weren't able to find those recalls. And with the Baron spawning fairly quickly, you gotta keep running if you're the Humble Giant. Because here comes the Horsey, My Little Pony, charging into the backline. But Luffy not going to be able to find that one in the end. Does end up just walking away. However, 4 cleanup kills there for Definitely Not Washed Up.
Yeah, and again, it's just over aggression from both teams. Like they're overextending their welcome. They're not respecting the enemy teams. They're getting these leads, and somehow it feels like they get a bit over eager to do stuff, and they just not. Sometimes you just need to take the win, and once you get the win, you back, and you don't try and overreach on the greed is what's getting both teams, I feel like, into their sort of precarious states. Both of them with the overextension in the mid lane from the side of Definitely Watch Up, and now they overstay from the Bumblebee Boys, ends up getting punished. But still, it's great from both teams. They're recognizing these windows of opportunity and punishing the opposition accordingly.
Yeah, an excellent set of punishing, as you say, and this has been a lot more of a back and forth match compared to the first one. The control is being shifted around, so I love these adaptations we've seen from Definitely Not Washed Up to match up with what Bumblebee Boys were doing in Game of 1. And arguably, this is the game where we thought the draft was more favorable to the Bumblebee boys, right? This is the one where we said, it's going to be very tough for Definitely Not Washed Up, but they found an excellent job of finding these windows of opportunity to really punish their opponents.
Yeah, and indeed, it is this crucial picks in the Kled and in the Hecarim that has been able to sort of subvert expectation and get enough of inflection in gold and stats to actually be really big threats to the backline of the Vulnerables. They have to be so careful of where they step and where they go in this fight to get this MF ultimate and all of the Synchro stuns up, but we have engaged in the
Oh
mid lane.
no, Bondo Petit lands a beautiful bandage toss, misses the second one, but Dark God is stalling for a lot longer than I was going to give him credit for. He's managed to survive for a long time, but Golden Excellence won't be able to do the same. Doesn't it falling at Dark God? Keep kiting, man, you're surviving the whole thing. Beautiful stuff from them. Double kill going over there to Octi, and I feel as though they've done an excellent job as it's 4 easy kills for the side of Definitely Not Washed Up. I have no idea how the Ezreal survived the whole play, but Dar is a god. Here's the ending of the play, though. It seems as though Big Humble Giant going to try and sprint his way out. I don't think you're long for the world, friend. You're going to be turned straight up into a pool, and all you got left is a couple of puddles. Good. Bye, my friend. A free pickup for your opposite number. As love for you, going to pick up that one.
Yeah, and crucially, I think the Stopwatch was the MVP of that fight. He gets caught, but with he buys so much time for his team to come in and sort of save him. And then Ezreal, he does excellent job of playing that champion, just kiting back, dealing so much damage. And I think that was enough to win them that end fight as they take game 2. And everyone, we have a series on our hands.
Yep, we got ourselves a series on our hands, as you say. Golden Excellence trying to keep the game alive at the end with the bullet time, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be all she wrote, and we just saw a completely different side of Definitely Not Washed Up in this game. It felt like they came alive. It felt like they came to play, they came to fight, and they came to demolish their oppositions. I love this new side to them, and I hope they can continue it into game number 3.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see. I was a bit afraid for them after game 1, but they showed that this was the thing I want to see from execution. I wanted to see some initiative from them. They definitely showed this in this game. They were much more cleaner on the execute. And while you can argue that a lot of the things that they got were facilitated by bad plays being made by BBB, I feel like so there still needs to be good players, and you have to be ahead in the game to actually punish these windows. Because some of these windows were rather small, but they able with no hesitation just go in and punish them, which was a great job by them.
Yeah, and the punishing is exactly what happened there. I believe we're going to be going to a very short break here before the next game, just to sort of allow all of our players to prepare themselves after such an amazing game, which obviously we are thankful that we get to watch, and we're excited here for game number 3. Make sure you get your popcorn, get your water, get whatever you need, because we'll be back with you in about 5 minutes. Don't you guys go anywhere.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always
And we're back live, boys. We're back again for the game 3 in this exciting semifinals. And now we finally got a break. I'm feeling well rested. I got to, breathe a bit after that one. I can't imagine you need to take a bigger breath there, my man. A lot of stuff to do.
It was definitely an exciting one, if nothing else. But it's been a very back and forth series so far. I mean, the game number one, very sort of, it was kind of more of a stomp, I think, thanks to obviously the power of the split pushing Camille situation. But in the top side, we see how this sort of changed around, right? The way that this Kled is now starting to dominate, and I think that this matchup between the two top laners is definitely something we need to keep an eye on, right? Mad Max dominates game 2, Strife dominates game 1. Let's keep our eyes on this next game and see, how that ends up flipping around throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see it. Like, for me, it's just like first, the one top laner is smashing the other, and then the other one just turns around and starts smashing the other one with the Kled. And man, it's just back and forth between both of these teams. And I was a bit scared that my earlier prediction of the team's relative strengths were going to be misleading, but I definitely have the game too. I feel like it is a very close game still, and it's going to just keep be very exciting, and we're going to have a lot of back and forth games. But I do have still the feeling that BBB, they're sort of still in the driver's seat slightly with the tempo. A lot of the plays are, as we say, around their success or their failures. And we see what happens in the adaptation. I don't expect a lot of adaptation from the side of Bomb Boys. I feel like they have sort of a good drafting formula there with the Graves being banned again, just keeping that off the table. As we see, that's definitely fit. I mean, Löwhagen, he is a great jungle carry jungler. He gets a lot of kills, but he's not on champions that can actually utilize it, which I think is the detrimental. I think definitely much up either Löwhagen adjusts his play to give these kills over to his carries, or he just picks a carry juggler and tries to carry the game himself.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned before, was able to carry the game pretty well off the last game, but it was more like he was able to enable the other players, right? Because to me, Oti on the Akali looked really, really good. Odi Mad Maxer did well on the Kled as well. And in reality, I think those were sort of the main factors, even though Löwhagen did have the sensation of finding backline access and disrupting these fights, making it so hard to position if you are one of these key carries. And to me, we do see all of these same bans as before, but this misfortune priority coming through properly here for the side of the Bumblebee boys.
Yeah, and finally we see the MF, being prioritized as it should be, and then Ezreal being picked up. And I'm not sure about this answer. I mean, Lucian is banned, and I think Bard has shown his face to be a really high priority pick for both of these teams actually. So not too surprised. I mean, this is a very strong 2v2. Nami being hovered, I wouldn't expect this. I mean, Amuma is still open. Like, go for this combo whenever it is open. I don't see any problems with it. But I do end up blocking the Nami instead. And now we actually have a very different 2v2 dynamic in the last game where we had MF Amuma instead into Ezreal Bar. Now we have the Nami, which I just feel like you lose a bit of the pressure. Sure, Nami is strong in that early level with her W, but before I continue on that, we have a Lilia lock-in, which is the physical locked. We might have the appearance of the fabled Lilia top lane, but instead is the Sett. And finally, Sett is being locked. I feel like this is just the way to go. Sett finally, he's been open too much.
There's two things I need to ask. First of all, does Nami E apply a slow on Misfortune's ultimate? Would that apply? So like a Shirelda's would on the initial hit?
I'm pretty sure
like I don't know. So I thought it would, because I know it applies on abilities, but I don't know if it would count on that one, because that would be kind of disgusting. But I'm excited to see if that works, because you do Tidal Wave into Bubble, E onto the bullet time, and then it's just really hard to deal with. Because they count as individual waves, right? So would each one apply? Sorry, theory crafting. Anyway, right, yeah. So set into the, obviously one of the best blind pickable top lanes, especially if you can ban things out like the Kled, which was so powerful. Camille's off the table as well. You ban the Fiora, you're looking pretty solid on that set front. The Hecarim lock-in makes a lot of sense. We saw how powerful it was the last time around. Looked really good into Löwhagen's hands. Apologies again on the pronunciation. I'm going to mess that up the entire night. I have no hate towards any of the players. It's just I'm English. Anyway,
You're English, okay.
Yeah,
Glad
I
you,
just
glad
can't
you
pronounce
said it.
Yeah,
No, but as
I
a Swedish person, I can let you off the hook and say you're trying. He made an effort. I tried to teach him. He made an effort, guys. So we
I spent
respect
half
that.
an hour before this cast trying to pronounce this name. I got it wrong every time. So there you go.
You thought it was German, which was a
I
bit
did!
offensive. Which is a bit offensive, but I'll let it go. I'll let it slide for this once.
I'm sorry.
But now
Anyway,
we do
Aatrox.
have Aatrox being locked in, and now they see the top lane matchup. So if they want to lock this in early, it's not as detrimental. There's no longer a counter. They can save this counter pick for mid, which I think what they should do. And now, Bumblebee boys, you have to blind mid. You have to pick the jungle. It's still into the Hecarim. So if they pick a fast early game jungler, they could end up punishing that really hard. Something like a Trundle does come to mind, but with VMF, they might want to pick something like a Sack again to sort of get that wombo combo going now that they do not elect to go for the Amumu. But also in that same vein, there is also the Orianna that's being hovered. It's great minion pick, good blind, has a great synergy with these ultimates and could create a roll. But now they need setup for it.
Yeah, and there's also a weird dynamic that you could make an argument, even though it's not a setup, to go down the Olaf route again. Because you have Nami enabling, you have Orianna Ball as well as potential sort of options to charge into the backline. Because obviously Nami can go like Shirelia's W with the E for like movement speed and stuff, and just go into the just charge you down. So there is an argument to be made that Olaf isn't actually terrible here, despite a lack of CC, as you just play around Make It Rain and Tidal Wave, and the Olaf is locked in.
Yeah, for sure. And now, man, you can take my job, I guess. All of predictions coming in. I mean, I've seen their champ so long. I don't understand I understand the old theory, but I think he's just so weak right now that it's not really usually worth to pick it up, especially into Nestor looking kite back really well, and with the Tempered Fate, it's gonna do a lot. But meanwhile, we see Corki, and I think this is great. It adds sort of a consistent damage element. But again, I see the same thing with Devil Watch Up. You're picking engaged fighters with kite back long range champions. This is not a synergy that you see for a reason. I feel like again they're picking anti-synergetic comps, but as we've seen, as long as Devin Workshop get champions that they like, they seem to be able to punish Bumblebee fairly well. So they might have recognized that these are the champions we perform on, so we're gonna pick them together just to be able to punish the enemy and then pull out wins that way. And they definitely have some strong individual champions that can carry if given the resources to do so.
Yeah, to address the Corki pick as well, I think there is some logic to an extent. So obviously the Corki Ori matchup is fairly okay. It's pretty standard. Corki can play that matchup pretty easily, as long as you don't mess up. Yeah, it's pretty nothing happens. But there is one weakness with Olaf, and it's the idea that he charges into the backline and often can be isolated. So if we utilize something along the lines of the package, there is definitely an argument to be made. You could use that behind Olaf, cut everyone else off, and then isolate, blow him up while no one can follow up thanks to the slow being provided. So in that regard, it does have potential there, as well as just being a very safe pick. Outside of that niche situation, though, it's not the best thing in the world. There's definitely other champions that can do that role a little bit better. Obviously, the Azir that was played before would have been very solid for that exact reason. Use Emperor's Divide to create yourself zone control. But I do like the idea of what Definitely Not Washed Up is doing, and I'm excited to see, whether they can execute on it. However, I'm a bit surprised to see the Aatrox Intercept matchup. I think Set is pretty happy with that situation. It's kind of just we punch each other, someone dies depending on who punches faster. There's not a lot of intricacy to it. I prefer to say play the Set side personally, but I think it's like.
I mean, are you belittling big beefy muscle heads to be stupid and just punch?
Oh, I love me some big beefy muscle heads. Let me tell you, that's my personal preference in life, really.
Yeah, I can see you're really hitting that. You're really pumping that iron, man. You're really hitting. Hitting
thanks, man. I've really been working on my noodle arms, so I really appreciate you for telling me. I love the fact that I flex, my arm gets smaller. That's crazy. That's crazy. Look at that. That's
that's true. No,
if
fine.
I looked like Set, I would be set for life in both like figurative and literally set. Like I'd be pleased. There'd be nothing wrong.
Isn't that what we all look for in life? Looking like a big ass bird man that fights in a gladiator paint. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Not at all like this. Not all unattainable masculinity or whatever it's called. It's perfectly reasonable body proportions. Moving on.
Fantasy. Anyway,
yeah.
Looking at the actual game itself. What we've got here is we've got an interesting sort of charge comp from the blue side with team fight wombo elements. utilizing things like the face breaker, the bullet time, as well as the tidal wave, as setup tools and damage with the shockwave, bullet time, etc. And on the other side, we've got this again kind of dive, but more I would call it distraction comp, where it's all about creating chaos and making everyone's fight lines messed up. It's all about becoming disjointed, right? Aatrox comes in and flank. It's hard to play around. Hecarim, Onslaught of Shadows, it's hard to play around. Corki jumps into the back line with the package and then jumps out. Hard to play around the package. Hard to play around the Tempered Fate. That's the idea, is that you want to sow these seeds of chaos, make it difficult, but at the same time, you got to do it with synergy to make sure that you're forcing people into these awkward situations together.
The thing, what I love that brings up, this create one of my favorite topic that's called zone control within a
Yes.
team fight. The thing, when you have immobile champions, they have limited zones to move around depending on where the front line is standing. The front line controls where your carries can stand. They give them sort of a zone where they're safe. If you have high range ultimate abilities can affect a large area like a Valkyrie, like a Tempered Fate, you can, without pushing the front line away, sort of change these zones and force the enemy immobile backline to go outside their safe zones, and then they're more likely that it's going to end up in an unfavorable position, what we would call out of position, and then they can really easily be targeted by the Aatrox, by the Hecarim, and sort of just get dived on because they are now technically out of position and not maybe always of their own accord. It could just happen because of really good key plays ultimates, and that's what we gotta watch. We gotta watch Te on this Tempered Fate and how OTD uses this Valkyrie in these fights. Yes, they still have to wait for some items, which is the linchpin, but that's the beauty of it. With these tools, they can actually allow the early game damage to come from Aatrox and Hecarim, and that works with Högen's playstyle. So this, I can see some openings for them to use. While these comps aren't as synergetic as I would like to see them, they still have tools, which is the name of the game in drafting. As long as you get tools, more tools than the enemy, to be more adaptable, you can adapt to a more chaotic game, and that's what we've seen. We've seen chaotic games. We haven't seen the clean setups where more strict, defined team comps will shine. We have seen chaos. We've seen multiple fights on fights, and that is where comps with a lot of tools and flexibility will shine a lot more. Now, saying that, I feel like Bumblebees, they still have the Wumble. They still have a really strong top laner in the set, and that's what I want to watch. We have said, in order for the side of Evermore to come online, they need this Aatrox. And if Aatrox goes like game 1 Aatrox, which he can, because this matchups, I feel like it's a bit skill heavy. It's a skill matchup, but it's a bit set favored, honestly, because he's just really strong right now. So if he gets behind, the entire early game will definitely falls apart, because Cork is not going to do 0 damage. Ezreal is going to do very minimal damage before he gets his items. So Mad Maxer can't afford to fuck up, and Te needs to be key placing on his Tempered Fate to force Godland Excellence and Sorka out of position, because otherwise they will just simply lose these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that now that we've sort of addressed all of the late game, the team fighting, the chaos, the way these teams are going to dominate, the real question is, how do they get there? Like, how do we, control the early game in your favor, give yourself the lead? Because honestly, these games, whilst we talk about, the top lane situation, the solo laners and how they've played well and the support AD carry, etc., it feels like whoever gets that early lead just controls it for the rest of the game. So how do you put yourself in that winning position to make sure that you are the one that gets to dictate the tempo and dictate the play style?
Oh, there are 2 ways to see about it, and it's some things we have touched on. It's jungle pathing, but this is more secondary, because what is jungle pathing controlled by? Wave state, which gives us when supporting wave state is the mid lane. So mid control. And mid control is generally decided by the 2v2 in the mid jungle. Many people, a guy who used to coach me used to tell me a very good analogy that there is actually 2 dual lanes in League. There is the bot lane, which is support and AD carry, and then there is the mid jungle. It's such an important duo that people do not actually put attention to. And in this game specifically, to harken back, I do feel like Bumblebees have the stronger early 2v2 into the Corki and Hecarim because it's Olaf. Remember, Undertow Axe, really powerful spell, and with the Orianna, just gonna outdash Corki in this early level. It's gonna be very nice. Now the Ignite has been covered by level. Maybe anticipating is knowing that if he doesn't run the spell, he's going to get out wrestled in this riverbank. So that's a really interesting choice. But meanwhile, we have some cheese going on from the side of the Bumblebees.
Yeah, the Bumblebees, they don't just think their mid-jungle stronger, they think their whole comp is stronger as they go for this early invade here. They do get themselves a little early ward there towards the bottom side to just keep track of when the enemy bot lane does arrive, I think. See if there was any cheesy shenanigans going on. Tried to catch Teo again, but unfortunately, you only catch Teo with that player once, my friend. Does end up getting away. And we might be looking at a delayed invade attempt here. Honestly, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, Nami is known as having a very strong level 1 with that W bouncing, but the cooldown's pretty long. We'll have to see how this one goes, though, because Big Humble Giant is here, and remember, this Olaf looked pretty strong the last time around, and Dark God seems to be the focus, but the Ignite is dropped onto Lofjörgen. Going to be a little bit of trouble, and bear in mind the rotations coming through here from mid lane. So Gold Nexus is going very low. Goodbye, Misfortune, because remember, the invading team lost last time, and they're losing again. The Bumblebee boys lose to Varion, and there's your beautiful looking Cosmic Binding. Bondo Petite is going to be heading for the hills, and it's going to end up surviving, not having to blow that flash, but going to be chunked pretty low in exchange, and a great play overall there for definitely not washed up.
Yeah, and crucially, I feel like the Bumblebees, they have the Olaf this time, but on the flip side, definitely, they have another good level 1 champion in the Ezreal. Plus, they have CC from Bard. Bard Ezreal is just too strong with the Ignite on the jungle to actually be able to be beaten out in this level 1, and they end up losing as they sort of misjudge their level 1 strengths. And that's 2 kills already there from our shop. Who gets off to really great start in this early game. And crucially, these kills are going on to Löwhagen, which again is gonna, as we see, has been able to sort of keep his team in these early games. And again, finally, Dark God. I feel like he has been the unspoken hero in these games. I feel like he is a good Ezreal player. He knows how to play this champion, and if he gets gold, I'm betting we're gonna see some good solo carry performance out of him.
Yeah, and also just solo. The solo lane is a bit of a problematic situation for Mad Baxter, but it's going to level up soon, so I won't really worry too much about the health situation as such. Off of that level up, actually going in on Strife here. The flash is blown by the set. The Haymaker not available yet, and the flash is beautiful from Mad Max. A solo kill on the top side, really stamping his authority in this matchup.
And Mad Max is really coming into play here. He's showing that game 1 was a fluke. He has the skill to step up. He can match Div and even outplay him. That was a beautiful prediction flash off the E, because you barely, if once you see the E, it's usually too late. But okay.
Sorry. Mad Max gets all of that praise and then proceeds to get Facebreaker stunned and slapped
Like-
by a set, so...
I don't understand. The prediction flash is hard play to pull off. Not overstaying when enemy has TP is kind of an easy, should be an easy equation to bring out.
I mean, the teleport advantage is completely lost by Mad Max of theirs. I mean, they're going to keep going for it, though. Strife is going to take a little bit of chunk back. But realistically speaking, these guys, they're happy to start brawling. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm always happy to watch it.
Yeah, and because of the fact that Mad Max dies there, it does mean that there's a slight CS lead on the title ship, but it's gonna get equalized as the waves are bigger, but they have even more fighting, and I might even have to stop talking, but no, they're just tapping each other. The big boys are brawling. Yeah.
Yeah, got a couple love taps there from the 2 top lane players. And Strife and Mad Max, it feels like they're constantly looking at when they can hit each other, as Mad Max gets a little bit of a better end of that trade, as Strife gets a bit of HP off the level up. But these guys constantly wanting to fight, constantly wanting to prove who the better top laner is barely dodging out there is Mad Maxer on the Facebreaker pull, and Strife still looking fairly solid here, a little bit trading back. It's nothing too exciting happening here in the top side. Meanwhile, the junglers, they've completed their clears, and a slight advantage being gained here so far for the Big Humble Giant.
And here, what we see here is just a clear speed efficiency of Olaf over Hecarim. He is slightly faster than the Hecarim in his clear since all of the nerfs that has been hitting him, and he's just be able to get double scuttles off of this actually, which is something I didn't pay attention. But he does have an Orianna, which should win this matchup. We should be able to do fairly well in this matchup early, although it depends on. It's mostly due to spacing. I feel like it's not really favored in either way, but once she backs and gets some mana, she will be able to be a real threat, especially as the they're gonna hit this level 6 mark, the mid control is gonna swing heavily in the favor of Bumblebee boys. As we see
Well,
a bit of an
Zorka
interruption
caught
on the
shopping a
recall.
little bit there.
Yeah, definitely. But now, definitely watch out. They're looking to Dragon.
Yep, gonna start this one up, and considering the fact that they've got themselves that free mid prior with no mana on the enemy mid laner, they're gonna happily pick this one up. And Big Humble Giant just gonna head towards the top side and clear the rest of his camps, knowing there's no way to really contest this one. A free Infernal pick up for Definitely Not Washed Up, and it's nice because remember last time they needed that 5 extra minutes in game number 1. Well, they've at least managed to buy themselves 5 extra minutes in this game in the event that something does end up going wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like if their carries just get the items, I feel like, especially Dark, there is potential there for them to actually carry, but they have to be careful. This doesn't seem to have been able to be stable enough in these early games to survive against the bot lane of Bumblebees. But yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
a level 6 versus level 5 situation. I mean, Strife has plenty of damage available, but Mad Maxer does
And
just want the
Bumble.
world ender. But it's not a fair fight, my friend. You bring an Olaf to an Aatrox, and Aatrox is going to get slapped, whacked, and absolutely bapped. The slapping comes through, and Big Humble Giant gets himself his first kill of the game.
yeah, and just good. I feel like not respecting the jungle being there. Yes, he does have a bit of a level 6 equalizer, but he's just I feel like he's just fighting, not really thinking. But we also have a fight
God,
in the
he's
bot
dealing
lane.
a lot of damage and taking a lot of damage. The 1v1 will go down, but both the AD carries will be traded off. Now we got ourselves some supportal combat, but nothing really going to come of that one, as it's just 2 quick kills, not a whole lot else.
Yeah, a
Oh,
big
but-
mess all across the map, and yeah, I don't think it's gonna have that.
Nope.
Safely, Valkyrie Valkyries away from that woman. Now, Loving, he's still on the top side. Sif does know though, as he's spotted on a ward and should be able to safely back away. But what I want to say, oh, never mind. He's
there
still
is
here on.
no stopping. Remember, the face breaker is available, and so is the
Keep it coming in.
damage. Goodbye, Love Yogan. You're absolutely going to get deleted, and the shockwave comes through. Mad Maxer can't close the gap. He's going to end up going down, and Zorka. Beautiful teleport to turn that around. It's 2 kills to Bumblebee boys.
Yeah, and I was questioning what Strife was doing there. He knows that the Hecarim is topside and he's still staying around. Maybe he was communicating with this mid laner where he had to be, and they just turn it around as Definitely Not Washed Up. They're not respecting the TP, but they did have TP on Corki. I didn't see where he was at. Maybe he has no mana. Maybe he wasn't in a position to answer, but yeah, somehow Bumblebees, they just end up with the coming out ahead on that play, and crucially, so I feel like they're sort of wrestling. Once it looks like Definitely Not Washed Up, they're starting up. Remember, they were 2-0 up after that for the 1 away, but it feels like the game is just slipping more and more away from them as Bumblebees are be able to succeed with play after play, and yeah, they're slowly getting stronger and stronger in this game.
Yeah, small amount of lead being gained here for the Bumblebee boys, crucially in that top side, which we talked about was going to be so impactful within this series, and specifically within this game number 3. Already about a 1,300, 1,500 gold advantage gained here on the top side, and 9 minutes in, 1,000 gold is a lot. As well as those 2 levels happening here for Strife in a very strong position to really control this one, and I like the attempt there from Big Humble Giant, but doesn't really find anything there on the top side.
No, he's not really successful there, and now he really wants to play around the set because again, now remember what I talked about. This Aatrox needed to get ahead to sort of be a bridger for his more late game oriented carries to come online and be threatened to back up. But now he's 1 and 3 into a 2-1 set. He's not going to be able to do much in this fight, which means the set can now fully work on the other engager, meaning he can just ult away this Hecarim and then no damage is going to reach his backline. But we might actually have a bit of a 2v2 in the top lane. No, it's just Ragnarok being popped and he's able to walk away.
Yeah, it's more of a 1v1 race, and it seems the Big Humble Giant run the race, came first, ran away. So good stuff there from the Olaf to get out of dodge. Too exciting happening in that regard, but Mad Max again taking a bit of a pummeling here in this topside matchup, and it seems like there's a bit of a blue side diff in this one. Every
Yeah.
single time the top lane is on the blue side, they're looking strong, and Strife really showing that one to fruition, up a level and a half really over Mad Max at this point.
And I feel like that crucial overstay, as we saw in the early levels, has just put him so far behind in both CS and now in kills. And this top diff is not something that Definitely Not Washed Up can afford, because now we're gonna go into the situation where there is a fight.
Maybe Strythe's turn to overstay now, though, as Mad Max teleports in. There's a 2-level disadvantage, but with every cooldown blown from Strythe, Mad Max is the one who forces the flash, and it's looking fairly okay, but an overstay coming through there from Strythe.
Yeah, definitely. Bit of an overstay, but so the flash is blown from the set, and the Drake is about to spawn. He has TP to join, so there's still a TP advantage. But if Aatrox bases right now, they could still look to contest. But Humble Giant is caught.
Oh, Humble Giant, how much can you land? But look at the bullet time. Decent zone control being applied here. It's a 1-for-1 played so far, but Zorka in a lot of trouble. Tempered Fate is just going to stall it out. Goodbye, my friend. The auto attacks coming through. Not perfectly played there from Roddy, but who cares? You get yourself a kill. It's a 2-for-1. You can't really complain.
No, you can't really complain at all. And this does mean that definitely watch out. They can look to take this dragon, but they still have to be careful though. I wouldn't say they're out of the woods yet, because remember, there is still this TP, and Aatrox, he is trying to get a base off. He is in base, that means that it's a free TP opportunity by Strife, and there is, luckily though, no ward behind the bot lane of Definitely Watch Out, so they are safe from that TP flank right now. And as the Drake is still up, we see that Löwen is passing down towards it, and he's looking to use this bot lane pressure that he has accumulated with the Sparred Ezreal picks to sort of pressure that dragon, and he's actually just gonna outrestart it. He has prio in both lanes, so he's definitely in the right to do so, and this just looks like to be a free dragon going off a Definitely shot with a good use of lane prio.
Yep, Lovergan going to easily pick that one up for themselves. Going to do plenty of damage to a dragon. I mean, horse versus dragon, normally you wouldn't expect it to go that way, but you know, when it's a special spectral horse, there's not a whole lot to worry about. Easy pick up. And with this, they're already 2 towards that soul, and realistically, a mountain soul, definitely not a bad pickup against such a burst-oriented team.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they're actually looking to cross map here, bomb balls. They lost on both sides. This is great. What you need to do, if you cannot contest the objective on both side, you do a cross map here. You go top side where you have this big pressure point trying to put. That's a good
but
tempered fate.
There's a bard. Oh, it's not a good tempered fate. The timing was wrong.
yeah.
Unfortunately. So the idea there is you drop the tempered fate as Shelly charges, and it denies the damage, and then you just deny the entire play. Unfortunately, it was slightly early, and that does mean that unfortunately tempered fate is wasted. The tower does end up going down anyway.
He did the roam and everything. Oh.
Yeah, he did everything right except the execution, which is
Yeah.
a real shame. It really is. That was textbook, like, perfect idea, but just a little bit off. And I fully respect the attempt. I mean, Tay's done the right thing there, but it's just not quite worked out.
Yeah, Tay showing why they want the bar pick for himself. He's definitely making.
I thought you were
You
going to
know,
say,
he is-
showing why the bard isn't banned. I was like, that's just savage.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh my.
I mean, the bar isn't banned. I mean, it's not really. I mean, it's one trickable champion and high a lot of top, but actually, we haven't engaged in the bot lane.
Yeah, a little bit of poke here. Tay trying to show why the bard should be banned now, but not throwing out that cosmic binding and taking a lot of damage in return. Honestly, not too bad if you're on either side. So, pretty happy situation for the Bumblebee boys. But they're going to keep charging, keep trying to find a little bit of something. But doesn't have this much to be had here. As the game, it's fairly stable. And if we look across the lanes, a minor CS lead in the bot side for the Bumblebee boys, and a minor CS lead in the mid lane for Definitely Not Washed Up. Overall, the main advantage of that gold just being that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's still like it's about a 2k gold lead, but we see the remainder of the gold for Bumblebees is on this top side of Strife. He is creating so much pressure. We can see in the top side. It's a 2-level lead over Mad Max on the Aatrox, and he can barely even clear the waves. I don't know why he's fighting. There is no way he can get into any sort of lethal range. He's just hurting himself by taking these fights, and now he might.
Oh, the only one who's going into lethal is Mad Maxer as he gets absolutely dunked. Gets taken to Space Jam. Nice stuff from Strife.
Yeah, Mad Max, what are you doing? When you're this behind, you have to accept, you have to take the L, and you have to just play back. If you take too many fights, you are the only one who will put into a lethal range, and he's just making the job easy for Cyrus to get this solo kill onto him, and he's nearing close to this 1-6 mark as we saw in game 1. But before we have this huge topside difference on the top lane, but crucially for Definitely Washed Up, Ezreal now has picked up this Trinity Force. He's 2-1 and 2. Corki is also looking to slowly get towards his second item. And if this game stalls out just a bit, these carries, once they get to 2-3 items, we can start talking, and they will be so hard for the side of Bombers to deal with, because they actually lack a fair bit of hard CC. They have a lot of soft CC and they have some knockups, but it's very much skill shot based, except for maybe the set ultimate. But he's gonna be wanting to ult stuff and like to hacker him into other people. And Ezreal Corki is one of the most mobile carry backlines you can have. So they're easily gonna be able to dodge out of harm's way in this one. So if this game goes late, I don't really see how Bumblebee Boys can sort of get this backline of definitely not washed up. So I definitely feel like if this sort of low state continues and Bumblebees do not put a gas pedal to the metal fast, they might end up letting this one being slipping away from them.
And putting the pedal to the metal is exactly what they're trying to do. They're going to secure themselves that Herald. However, it is going to be punished with this red buff invade here from Lofjorgen. Absolutely going to pick that one up very easily.
Okay.
However,
I'm struggling to go on a tangent here, but we actually have, for the third game in a row, Shield Wall for MF.
into the Last Whisper. Again,
Yes.
yeah.
And I just want to say the point of mythic items is that you can adapt to different game states. So even if you're comfortable with one thing, it's very, very beneficiary to learn to use different items at different times. But, same
There
old
we
that.
go. There you go.
Yeah, there we
Nice,
go.
Tay. You know what? I'm proud. I'm genuinely.
Value.
I'm proud.
value.
Yeah, I'm proud. Like he's learned. He's got the timing now. So we won't be seeing any more of that Herald charging stuff. So Tay, good punish, good rotation, and this time the execution is there to make sure that Herald has very minimal value.
Yeah, we sure do. And as the Drake's about smart, if you look at the items, there's some really still have these plenty, but not much else have been completed. But there are multiple gold ring is being completed for the side of this beef was unbelievable. So they definitely aren't snooze out, but they're late to this play. All they're gonna be able to do, they're just looking for, and the Valkyrie comes in.
Hello, package. What are you gonna do, my friends? There's not much to be done, and the initiation is just way too good from the side. Definitely not washed up. There's nothing to even talk about at this point. It's an easy ace, and that package was amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. They have definitely watched out. They have so many tools to disrupt this team fight sort of formation that needs to happen from Bomber Boys and their carries to deal damage. But also crucially, they were the first to the objective. They had position. They got to choose where the fight was going to take place. And Bomber Boys to try and force their way in, but they're kind of caught with their pants down as they're in a really awkward spot and don't really get to shoot the spot. And that's just a good engage, good timing by definitely Workshop to punish and get a big team fight win to bring this game into their favor. And game 2 is looking to be more and more steadily into control. But we have a play on the mid lane.
His shockwave isn't available just yet as Zerka trying to chase down RT and is able to find quite a little bit of damage utilizing that QW, and with the phase rush there's nowhere for you to run. It's going to be an easy pickup onto the enemy mid laner, and the bullet time is channeled. Mad Max are getting very, very low, but it's going to survive, and it's just a free pick onto the Corki.
Yeah, these pick, it feels like it's what we used to say. We're here at Connecting Esports, we put the LPL to shame. There's constant fighting. No team is gonna just lay down and give up. There's TPs, plays to punish, and they are actually getting turrets, but now they have to be careful to not overextend themselves.
Yeah, Big Humble Giant already goes down to all of these little bits of Mystic Shot. How the Shockwave is used to pull in Dark. He's going to get deleted very, very quickly. And suddenly it's a 3v4 scenario. Mad Max has to do so much work, but he's managing to find one. He's looking for number 2, but he's going to get chased out. The Ignite is ticking. The healing is being cut down, and it is a nice pickup there from the Aatrox. Excellent stuff there to at least get an even fight. However, he's looking for more. You can tell he's trying to find his way in, but the ball zone control is a little bit too good here from Zorka. However, Otti is now here, full HP on the Corki. Not sure he's going to be able to find too much. And it does end up being just a free sort of trade of kills.
But how are these fights like extended and so long? We're still not done yet.
Onslaught of Shadows, Orianna pulled in, Goredrinker goodbye, my friend, as now Stride's in trouble. The W is available, nice Haymaker, damage to be found, and the Ghost is popped and is off to the races for the Olaf. No Ragnarok available, but who needs it when the Corki's going to die anyway? Axe number 1 lands, Axe number 2 lands. Suddenly he's forced to run away though. There's no healing backup. Nami, no! There goes the True Shot barrage to the backline, and when that goes down, so does your set. It's 2 quick kills as Tay now slapping and dapping, but he's gonna be going into absolutely nowhere. Picks up a kill into Golden Excellence, and suddenly the Olaf may be low, but he's gonna go even lower, 6 feet down. It's an ace coming through from Definitely Not Washed Up.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this one. I feel like the playbook just went out the window. We just a constant fight and constant fight. And normally I would say that it's up to mechanical play, but there is so much more mechanical ceiling on the champs on Definitely Wash Up than it is on Boundables. They need that sort of wombo combo to land. They need those ultimates. They need the space to be created, ideally, for them to find that. And they are just brought into this chaotic, almost small skirmishes, not even team fights to call them, would be disrespectful to the word. And I feel like it's just small individual skirmishes, and there is where Definitely Wash Out they outshine because they have the gold lead. They have crucial items on the characters. They have good skirmishes in the Aatrox and the Hecarim, and they're just able to sort of win out on these longer extended skirmishes. And yeah, I feel like Bumblebee Boys, you need to slow down a bit. Yes, we want to put the pedal to the metal, but now you're just getting, now it's in the reverse. Now you're just digging your graves faster by doing this. And they need to get control. They need to create a space, find maybe a cheeky brush play to sort of see if they get this wombo and down with the bullet time and the Oriano. But now it looks like maybe, oh, Mad Maxer, is he caught?
No, he's gonna be able to find his way out, Mad Maxer. No real follow-up available. The tidal wave was there, but he just walks away fairly freely. And I imagine just didn't want to blow that cooldown before the dragon spawns and not have it available. So
Okay.
just bailing out there for Bumblebee
Now we
Boys,
have
but the
the-
poke is coming.
Okay, now we have the vision. We have about 50 seconds. Now I want to see Bumblebee go to midway, push it out, and then you can go and execute. You have done the vision part. You need to push for vision, then you push, execute. Push vision, push, execute. It's the mantra of any good setup. And yes, you are behind, but they do not want to give up the soul. And now they're at least in a good position to get started for the fight is started.
Yeah, the tidal wave is being used to try and disengage this one, but there's going to be a lot of trouble as Lofjörgen is a little bit too deep, does get caught out by the shockwave, but how many tools are available for the rest of the fight? It's a 4 versus 5, but I don't think Bumblebee Boys have a whole lot left. They're the ones that have to run. They're the ones with no tools, but a package comes in. It's a Valkyrie into the backline. The stopwatch is good, but have you gone a bit too far, Otti? Oh, look at the facebreaker pull. So much work being done here by Strife, but it might not be enough. There's no follow-up available, and it's 3 trapped, 2 trapped, 1 trapped. How much have they got left? They've got absolutely no one. It's an ace coming through, but definitely not washed up.
Yeah, and definitely, Bumblebee, you try to do the steps, and this is normally the steps you take when you're even, but if you have to take the Drake fight, at least it puts you in somewhat of a money better position if you can choose where the fight's ended, but it's so hard. They do not have the stats, they don't have the goal, they don't have the pressure to sort of dissuade Definitely Wash Up from engaging. If they want to engage, they can do so. They have the gold lead for it, and they just go for it. And yeah, the Bumblebees, they just cannot keep up, and they just simply lose the fight as they are sort of just outstatted. And yeah, the fish is not
Mondo
long as well.
petite, your health bar's petite, and so is your lifespan. Goodbye, my friend. You are gonna be going
Oh,
down.
and this is a
down.
desperation TP from the set. He's looking to flank, but mid laner is already dropping.
Goodbye, Mr. A. There's not much to be left here. As Dargod now moving forward. You don't see that very often. The Olaf is running, and it's a triple. Pentakill's on the angle. It's a quadra kill. Dargod make it. Oh! Goodbye, my friend. Just gets
Goodbye, my
deleted from
lover.
half health. That's some
Goodbye, my
mathematical perfection. French kiss for that one. Mwah! Goodbye, my friend.
Yeah, and we see the replay of Doro. He's playing, he's showing the mechanics he can pull out on this champion, and finally he's getting to show what he does with this. He's dealing so much damage. It's crudely like 1v3 on the bottom side, but then he clumps up a bit too much and just can't make the juke happen. He actually jukes back into the true damage part of the Haymaker and just gets absolutely nuked. But the fight with the goalie, with the soul, is still going in the favor of the Bumblebee Boys.
Yeah, even though the pentakill doesn't come through, it's still a 5 kill ace. 5 kills, and I think 5 for 1 overall at the very end. I think only the Ezreal died, so an amazing situation regardless for the side definitely not washed up. I know how upsetting that is for Dargod, probably not really thinking about how that was an ace and more what could have been, but unfortunately what could have been is not what happened. And in reality, though, in a strong spot, 3 items on this Ezreal, up an entire item on his enemy opposition. I mean, disgustingly far ahead, up 4,000 gold. You're doing pretty well for yourself. And in reality, the only member who's even close to their opposite number is Strife in the top side. This set has to do so much heavy lifting but he's down 2 levels on Mad Maxer, and that alone makes up for some of that sort of CS situation. So, Big Humble Giant feels as though I've got to do something, got to try and force something, and as such, looking for a flank.
Yeah, they are looking for something, but I feel like if you're Bumblebee Boys here, you're in a really rough spot, and the way you have to look at this is either you get the set flank of all times, where you get the frontliner in, sort of, and you just one shot his backline. But I feel like this, I don't know what you can do. You want to play front to back, you want to keep Hecarim away from your backline, but unless you get CC, which again they don't have at the moment, they don't have hard CC to initiate the combo. So it's really hard for them to do anything in these fights, and now they're
You know,
just
just look at the
trying.
Mystic shots they're landing here, because Big Humble Giant's 1 health just from Dark God alone, and Stryth is taking a lot of damage too. It's just this Ezreal is doing so much work, and Mad Maxer wasn't even there. He's happily just hitting bot tower.
Now this is the scary part of definitely watch out composition. This means that when they're this
Goodbye.
ahead, oh goodbye.
Free pick
Uh,
onto Humble Giant, another one coming through. That's kill number 3 of the fight. 3 already in the Death Chamber. Seems as though 2 more about to end up winding up, because Bondo Petit has very little time left
there's
in
just
his
nothing they can
lifetime.
do.
And yeah, Stryth is just gone. This is an absolute write-off. You can do your best. You might get one, but you won't even do that much. It's all over. All she said and done, and what seemed like a fairly close game for a while just gets blown wide open by definitely not washed up. An excellent set of plays there from the boys on the red side.
Yeah, and maybe unexpectedly for some, definitely not watch out, are going up to 2-1 lead in this series. And like, I just want to mention the fact that in the end, even though it looked quite bad, there is not much you can do as the side of BBB, because like you're basically fighting a frontline that can dive and kill your backline that is so fed that you cannot kill them, and you cannot reach the backline because you do not have any clear hard to see. Like Olaf can't do anything to that backline; he just gets melted. He's useless at this point. So they can't kill the backline. They cannot deal with the front line. So there's very limited option in a normal teamfight setting for them to do so. And just look at that. Just look at that Ezreal. Like there was no threat on him whatsoever. He could just pump out so much damage and just free hitting. And meanwhile, the Aatrox just wreaking havoc in these fights. And definitely watch out, showing us that they had the fortitude. And I felt like it was looking a bit grim in the later part of this early game, but they managed to stick through and just come back with just some great team fighting and utilization of their skills. And I honestly, I want to say that the MVP of this game uh, is very split. Like Dargot did really well in this Ezreal, but I feel a lot of the early game was facilitated by Tay. I feel like Mad Max, I would have given it to you if you didn't int like the first part of that early game pretty hard. Like you had a big lead. I think you kind of got smashed a bit for a long time in this game. He was like 1-3 at one point. He didn't go back. I feel like Tay did so much to sort of hamper the aggression of the enemy team, and then the carries came online. So I feel like it was definitely a team effort. But the Bard definitely shown why it has such a high priority in this game.
Yeah. And I mean, this puts you in a really awkward spot if you are on the side of definitely not of Bumblebee Boys, right? Because you know the pick ban has remained fairly the same the entire time through. You know, we haven't seen any particularly spicy picks we weren't expecting, but you're now 2-0 down. What do you do or 2-1 down? Sorry, what do you do to create a situation, you know, where you're able to take it to game number 5? You know, give us the pseudo silver scrapes. You know, what needs to change for this team to make it to that next game?
I mean, for this, I feel like for some reason, yes, we could argue they were in a bit of a clock, but like they just kind of lost it. It felt like they just gave up and just fight. They threw the roadblock into the window. Like, yes, you sort of do, but you need to keep their heads in the game. But the main thing there is that they made it really hard for themselves with that draft. If you pick MF, if it's open, please pick a Amumu. I don't know what the Nami is doing there. I don't want to see it again with that conversation, especially not the top part, because you do not gain any extra pressure. Nami is only good in this meta because she has a looseness energy. In any other context, I think that the champions would rarely be picked. So if you pick MF, please pick another engaged champion with it, because that's where she really excels. And it makes them be able to set up a wombo combo, because that's what she is. A champ that has good laning with a wombo combo. And if you don't pick setup for it, then you're back. Then MF is suddenly not a top tier champion anymore. it needs a CC setup for that ultimate to do work.
Yeah, the MF requires the setup and engage potential of something like the Leona, Nautilus, or, as you say, the Amumu to come through. So the fact that wasn't present, we'll have to see whether or not that does change in the future, or whether the Bondo Petit will want to pilot that army again. It does remain to be seen. Um, to me, this game was much less about. It feels as though with every single game, definitely not washed up just becomes better and better. It feels as though they're starting to find their groove, starting to find their control of themselves and the way they want to play this one. So I'm excited to see if they can continue to improve and continue to improve, as that's kind of been the story of their tournament, right? They've gotten better every single week. Like they've just got better and better, and as such, as we get straight into the pick ban again, we will see, if any of these draft adaptations that may be necessary here for the Bumblebees comes through, or whether or not they will stick with sort of similar playstyles have they done before. As we do see this Jarvan denial come through again, as what I'm expecting will be the Xin Zhao and Graves, but Ekrim Ban comes through.
Yeah, Hecarim, but again, I feel like that's not really been an issue in any of these games. I feel like he's kind of gotten outpaced a lot, but I guess Bumblebees, they're respecting it, and the only thing I can say about it is that the team has looked as a whole very comfortable when that pick is in the game. So maybe it's just Löwhagen is able to take more of a better communicative stance, and it is more of a comfort. So the communication did look to improve. So that could be an angle for it. But this does mean that Löwhagen's famous Graves is still not banned.
Yeah, and it's not going to be banned if this LeBlanc is the ban of choice instead. Remember, the Lucian and the Misfortune both open as well, so you have the option of that trading situation we talked about before. So
Okay. I
maybe we get.
I actually like this. Sorry for interrupting. I just want to say that the fact that there is one good thing about not banning the Graves. You can now trade a Graves pick for a Lucian Nami pick. And as I'm saying that, definitely not washed up actually realizes this and first pick Lucian. Does not go for the Graves pick, which I think is a great idea, because I think that even if he's comfortable on it, it would have been a great misstep. But this does mean that it's gonna be a Mumu MF trade. Please, Bomb Boys, if you pick Nami with this, it's denies the Lucian, but I still think that it's gonna make your team fights a lot harder. But they actually pick none of them. They actually are going with Lilia, however, which would be really surprising. But it's locked.
It's interesting as well to me because I don't necessarily think Lucian and Mumu is a bad combo. So I think it doesn't work the same way. You can go Lucian and Mumu and it's playable, no? I think there's definitely an option available. But the Lilia in the jungle, it can be very powerful if you can land multi-man lilting lullabies, as it doesn't actually proc Misfortune ulti. Doesn't proc the Lilia ult if you cast it while they're in the drowsy phase before they go to sleep. So you could just have them stuck and make it in the bullet
What?
time damage with no ability to cancel it.
Graves is your favorite best pick. Graves is open,
Yep.
and you can pick Nami Lucian on bot side. Why
Yep.
is this not being locked in? I don't know what this Volibear is about, honestly, guys. I'm stumped. Like, yes, it can work if you're building a sort of engaged comp, and it is a flex pick. That's the only thing I can see. I know definitely what they like to have flex picks, and they definitely do. And Bard is gonna be locked in. What am I seeing here? Like, guys, the
We're
Nami
taking it
is
back to the start of the season.
like, I know Bard is a high contested pick, but oh wait, Amumu is open and you're going fully on. You looked so good on this. When he picked Amumu last game, he was good with the bandage shot. I think there would be no problem with running it back. And yes, here it is. The Amumu is being hovered and most likely being locked. And there we have the combo. We have the Lilia top lane, and we're going presumably, or even jungle. So we will see now. So many picks are open. Now we're going to see what the teams think, where these picks are going. If it's jungle or top Volibear, same with Lilia. We do see Kled being banned, so they do expect this to be a jungle pick from the Volibear as they're pinching the top pool right now. And definitely, watch, they have the same idea. They do not think Lilia top. They're banning out these top laners, both teams, thinking that both top junglers have been locked, and Aatrox also being banned out. This could end up being really good for both teams. I feel like both teams are kind of boosting each other with the flexes here. We'll see what ends up happening with this last band. I think Aatrox It's okay ban to deny if you think Volibear is jungle, but then again, I think Ezreal, yeah, that makes actually no sense because most likely Lucian bot. So now I'm really confused. Unless they think it's Lucian mid, which I haven't seen of it. Does
The-
still function, but
I just feel like Lucian mid blind pick with Syndra open and no ban come through on blue side kind of says this isn't Lucian mid. Like if
yeah,
you were going to pick Lucian mid here, you ban Cassio, you ban Syndra, and then you can play Lucian mid. Otherwise, one of those two things gets locked in and you can't play the game anymore. So that to me screams this is Lucian bot lane, and the Ezreal makes literally no sense.
yeah. I'm a bit confused, and now we see Fiora Aatrox hovers. Aatrox wasn't banned, so it's a blind Aatrox again on red side. Please, Bumblebee, you can't. They could have waited with that and just blinded mid instead, but they ended
Camille
up
open.
going with the Aatrox, and that Camille is banned.
Oh, it's
So
Camille, sorry. Fiora.
they could go Fiora in trade, which is a really good matchup for the Fiora, as you can repulse that pullback fairly easily.
Never mind.
So
Alright,
I wouldn't be
nice.
surprised to see that. But actually,
That too.
Jax.
That too. That's also going to be a really disgusting matchup into the Aatrox. He bullies Aatrox
And,
like he bullies Camille. Both of these champions could get really butchered by Jax if the Jax player's playing well.
And
so it's a
again,
really tough
we're seeing the
matchup.
top lane getting counterpicked on
Yeah.
blue side.
Yep.
That might be biting Bumblebee boys. And I think it was definitely not washed up that did this in game one. So
Hi,
they've
what?
actually swapped
I don't have-
positions in
Oh.
who's doing it to
Oh.
whom. And it's a very interesting development.
This is a tough situation, honestly, for the Bumblebees draft. I mean, the TF is an interesting one, as you are sort of blinding it, but it means you can now play towards this top matchup that can really snowball the game as well as a powerful early game bot 2v2. But the Tryndamere lock-in, Tryndamere mid has spiked in priority pretty hard over the course of Worlds, as well as a few patches beforehand. It is pretty strong, but you're lacking magic damage pretty heavily.
Yeah, then the only magic damage would be in this Lilia pick, and I want to see how this events Irelia. Actually, so it's an Irelia mid, presumably, unless they actually do a switcher and put Aatrox mid. That has also been played in by certain players. Maybe not the most common thing, but I would expect it to be an Irelia a mid to try and punish the TF, but I would be surprised if it's top lane as well, as she can still do fairly well early game into Jax, but she does get upscale on the side lane. But Aatrox also doesn't have a favorable matchup into that one. So yeah, this is some interesting picks coming out from the side of the Bumpy boys.
Yeah, I don't think you can really take the Aurelia top side. I think Jax is going to be quite happy if you're playing the Aurelia. Jax matchup is very tough to play the Aurelia side. So I'm excited to see whether or not that does it going that way. But the interesting thing to me is just it feels like Bumblebee Boys, they've kind of realized the fact that, you know, we have this team fighting composition, but at the same time, it's significantly harder for that to work against all this dive stuff. So let's bring a bit of dive of our own. We got Aurelia, we got Aatrox who can now cause havoc in the backline as well. But it feels as though now definitely not washed up. They've read that. So they've gone, okay, we're going to create a 1-3-1 with TF and Jax. None of you can match Jax and no one can catch TF. So good luck as the game goes later. So, you know, can definitely not washed up get that advantage early on with their Lucian Jax comp, or are they going to end up getting outscaled in the team fighting by the Misfortune and Mumu composition?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question that's going to be playing in this game, I feel like. And with definitely more up, they've shown that they want to be proactive. So I think this big TF picks makes a lot of sense with how they like to play the game. They will have more than enough tools now to actually play this playstyle. And that's really scary to me. I am very surprised they didn't end up going for some of their power and comfort picks that were left open, like the Graves. And then I would have liked to see the Nami instead of the Bard just because of the raw power that 2v2 provides. Now they end up going with the Bard, which signals to me that Bard is usually a champion that you want to go to help the map around. Yes, he has decent laning, but he's more of a roamer champion, and Lucian is really a lane bully. So these two champions, while they can work together, they're not really. Again, it's an anti-synergy in my mind. So I feel like the Bard wants to roam with the Yav and play around this Jax, and now you basically then end up in a situation where you have a weak side Lucian, which those are two words I never really want to utter when I'm analyzing team comps: weak side and Lucian. So there are pros and cons on both sides. I think both comps. I do still feel like, as we say, this Jax is unstoppable late game. So if definitely more shop can play around this with the TF, it's still the strat they want to go for. And that's a really good win condition for them. But with how these games are playing out, I don't know if they even have the patience to wait for that point where the Jax comes online. I'm feeling there's just going to be a lot of fights. And if that happens, I feel like Bumblebee Boys, they do have an edge with the Aurelia and the Aatrox.
The thing is, though, is that for definitely not washed up, they do have the power to send numbers, right? You mentioned the fact that Bard likes to roam around, but you've also got the Twisted Fate. Once he hits level 6, there is no more laning. You Destiny Gate top lane, you drop a gold card onto Strife, and then you've got yourself the easy stun setup coming through for Mad Maxer to then chain the CC, and it becomes very hard. Same thing happens bot lane, right? Because you've got the gold card into Cosmic Binding coming through from the Bard, and then Lucian will have plenty of damage at that point to delete. And on top of that, diving is incredibly easy because you've got Gold Card. You've also got Stormbringer. Why not just Ownwrecker the tower and just dive people that way? So, in terms of um, like team fighting when numbers are even, red side definitely gonna be strong. But the question to me is, how often do you get those numbers even fights when you have this much rotational ability with Destiny and with Magical Journey?
Yeah, it's the thing, right? It's the advantage of having the board TF combo, and I feel like that in itself is a really great combo. Usually, you want a self-sufficient ADC then to go along with having an illusion. Can't fit that build is not traditionally what we like to see him as he is traditionally lower scaling than some of the other options. But against the MF, it's not that much of a diff. But he can struggle a lane a bit with her if he doesn't have enough enabling. So I'm very curious to see how this bot lane turns out because I don't feel like if this board roams too much, if there is you cannot contest this top side past level 6 that we mentioned. So Aatrox is not going to be able to do much after this level 6 point. So I think that if you're Bumblebee Boys, what you do have then is an option to dive this Lonely Lucian with the Amumu and maybe Aurelia even roaming down. But then you have to be careful of where the TF goes. But if TF goes topside, you have to be ready to answer with a crossmap place. So this is what we're going to have the coordination of bombers. They have to time this TF ult. And if the TF ult ults on the top side, which I am assuming it's going to happen more often than not, they need to be ready to make these crossmap plays around their bot lane where they have the CC to set up a proper dive onto this Lucian, who then is going to be having a really soft time.
The question is, whose strong side is stronger and which weak side can play defensively correctly and avoid the enemy plays? That's what this early game is going to come down to. And it's going to be an interesting one to see, how that does end up working out. I mean, we have two junglers that can make early plays. It's not an issue. Volibear with plenty of CC, Lilia with plenty of damage, and lanes that, realistically speaking, they've got crowd control of their own to help set these junglers up for success. So, to me, when I look at this, the only thing that I'm a little bit worried about is the Lilia Aurelia one, like 2v2, because the crowd control pre-6 isn't the best. You're kind of relying on that flawless duet to come through. And it's pretty difficult to set up on something like Twisted Fate, who can just gold card run away. However, Aurelia scaling is well known, as is Aatrox to an extent. So you can definitely dive into the backline and do stuff. But Jack split push. Keep your eyes on whether or not Mad Maxer can push out the lane. And realistically, Mad Maxer has looked pretty solid in that 1v1 situation. Yes, there was the mistake in the last game where, suddenly the side of Strife was in control for the rest of it. But remember, Mad Maxer got the solo kill first. He wasn't doing badly to begin with. And definitely, given this matchup, could take over this game.
Now, I feel like we are talking very much about the advantage of definitely a workshop. And in a theoretical sense, it does make a lot of sense. If you can play good around macro and you can use your numbers advantage well, there shouldn't really be a way for Bombay Boys to sort of play the map and they could be just, outperformed. However, the thing that we have to mention as well is that a lot of these fights are very hectic, they're very chaotic. And TF, while he has good map movement, he's not a good skirmisher. So if they get locked into the skirmish game, they're just going to run straight up lose, and Bombers are going to be able to snowball off that and just take over the game. Now, something that's pointed out as well that we have to mention, there's not a lot of magic damage on both sides, actually. But there's no true tanks in this game either. Maybe except for Volibear, but with the press attack, I would see if he goes the Bruiser or if he goes tank build. If he ends up going armor, it could be really effective, as there's only the Aurelia for magic damage. But No true tank on either side, expectedly. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. I don't think the damage ratios are that important right now, but it's more gonna be an execution. But how chaotic these games usually are, uh, I'm not. I'm scared for definitely no watch up. They need to be very controlled. They need to show that they can play with these numbers of engines correctly.
Yep, it'll all be on that early game execution of the macro elements. But if they aren't able to take over the early game and Bumblebee Boys can survive that early stages, you gotta worry a little bit because they've got plenty of team fighting tools available to them. Curse of the Sad Mummy. They've got themselves the Lilting Lullaby Sleep for sure. They've got themselves plenty of damage within their 3 other carries coming through. So, if this doesn't work out in the early game, and definitely not washed up, don't have about 3,000 gold lead about 12 minutes in, it's going to be rough for them. It's going to be very, very rough.
For sure, is we're gonna have to look at how this early game plays out. But mainly, if you're on the side of having watch up, they really need to be careful, as we say. Like they cannot afford to fall behind if this comp. They need to get ahead. They need to wait for the Jax to sort of get his items, and then he will be unstoppable, and they will be able to play around and fight well with these TF map opponents and global maps that they have. But we still have the Bombo. There is still a huge Bombo combo from the side of definitely watch up. Now, getting away from the team fight aspect, as we are a couple of minutes away from that actually being a factor, just looking at the early game, we have a Lilia who is this traditional full clear champion, right? Into a Volibear. And Volibear is traditionally not a guy who goes for a 6 camp clear. He goes for a 5, maybe a 4 camp, because he really wants to get up the map fast. He doesn't have the fastest clear out of all junglers. He is a bit slower. That's why he usually has to skip a camp or two to sort of get the scuttle. I've seen a lot of Volibears do a 4 camp clear, so they can actually go and do a gank before scuttle, because he has such an effective level 3 gank and can really affect the lane prime in his favor. So that's also an option that he could do. So a lot of options with this Volibear. I don't want to see him commit to sort of a standard full clear sort of start, because then he will just naturally lose out to this Lilia, who's very happy to take that. And he is stronger early, as he can lock down this Lilia and do a lot of damage with his E and this pressure attack bite shot. So he's gonna want to look to sort of match this Aurelia. It looks like both trunks are starting on the bot side, which means that they're gonna end up top lane. And yes, Aatrox will have the prio, so this should favor the Lilia a bit. But if this Volibear knows this, he could be able to do either some cheesy mid lane ganks with only doing a short camp clear, or he just want to find the Lilia out, maybe invade her early and just punish her with his early game strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it will come down to whether or not Punish does end up coming through. And also just a punishing, a little bit of slapping happening here in the top side as the level 2 is hit. And Mad Max are trying to show why that matchup is so solid for the Jax side.
Yeah, he is definitely doing that, and he's chomping him up quite well. And this does mean that Lilia, I see, is pathing. She's actually slow, and that's what I'm talking about. It's even only a 3 camp clear, as you want to look for an early gank in the mid lane, and this is looking very juicy for them.
Yeah, the gank does come through. Lofogan gonna try and find as much as he can and easily picks that one up. Not a whole lot Zorka could do. It's a 1v2 and you're a very low damage Aurelia with very few items. Bad Maxer, on the other hand, dealing plenty of damage to Strife. Let's punish a little bit, but he's happily farming it up, happily punishing, but First Blood does go down there in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. Volibear is a great level 3 champion. He is very known for not just going for these lower camp clears so he can do a gank before Scuttle spawn. And he's actually looking for another one. But as he might give up Scuttle. He has to be careful, as he might now be down in tempo. He's actually looking for a dive. And Lilia is actually back for the mid lane, unfortunately. Will this work out?
Yeah, the dive setup is pretty easy. It's a point and click, and Strife is pointed on, he's clicked on, and he goes absolutely down. Goodbye, Strife. Easy kill.
Oh, and now Big Giant. I think Mad Max should be able to get out. He has level hugging into, But something I want to mention is now that means that the TP is forced out from the side of Omens, and this is going to be a TP advantage because this wave has been pushed in, and now the Jax can back, and I think he can make it back to lane fairly comfortably, and this should be a TP advantage going over, unless Big Humble Giant he helps him push this a bit. I am a bit scared of if he's gonna be able to. He's actually staying in the base fire with us. We actually have looks like he's going to have to use this TP as well. And the Drake is about to spawn, so there's no net TP advantage for either side at the moment. But what I'm
Yep.
to mention that I feel like there was such a flip going on from side of Löwenhagen. Yes, after he got the Zerg, I'm very surprised he didn't just go for Scuttle. He just got double Scuttled because he did that flip. And now we have fighting in the river.
The big humble giant might be the one that's in trouble. However, Artie's going to get locked up here by Zorka, and Zorka going to punish a little bit with quite a nice amount of damage. Half health there onto the Twisted Fate, but you got Corrupting Pots, you'll be alright. Gonna just sustain up through that one. And the real question here is whether or not you can really do anything with the amount of power this Volibear has in the early game, because he's 1-0-1 already here on Lofjorgen. Doing very well for himself, and does have to catch up on the camps, obviously, because of the fact that Big Humble Giant was able to clear a lot more effectively, and just clears faster in general. So we will have to see whether or not you can maintain this level of activity and success with the ganks that have been coming through.
Yeah, and this is one of the arguments that people have been saying that, full clear champs is not really skill expression in jungle because you kind of do the same thing. And yeah, why is the Lilia just happy to do the only thing she can do, which is full clear and take this goal? If the gank evolving, yes, he needs to get map impact, but there's one thing that junglers do a lot is that they overforce, they overflip. And
Bondo, you
point.
thought you had Tay, but Tay had you, my friend. You're going to get locked up, and it's going to be an easy kill into Dark God. And we said, Lofjorgen had to find another angle. Well, he gets one delivered to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, and a bit of miscommunication. It feels like both bot and a Crumbling with the, Golden Excellence was actually recalling while Bondo was going for that bandage toss, and this is spelling a bit of a bad omen for the side of Bumblebee boys. That's not something you want to see in game 4 of a very important semifinals. And we have, as we see, the love tapping of the top laners going on, but I'm a bit scared for Bumblebee boys now. They're falling further behind, and this is a 3-0 lead for definitely Wash Up. Now, we have seen them get these leads in the past, and then Bumblebee was always able somehow to find some sort of fight and get back into the game, but now it looks like the Lily has been caught.
Oh, but Dark God might also have been caught as Bando Petit lands 2 beautiful bandage tosses, and a flash is traded out here by DD Carries, so it's a small summoner advantage gained overall. But now Golden Excellence is a little bit too far forward. Remember, there's plenty of CC available and not a whole lot of HP. Goodbye, my friend. It's going to be another pickup, but definitely not washed up.
Ooh, definitely, they don't have the ward in the river to spot this roam coming out, but I also feel like they're not respecting it. They're not respecting the fact. Definitely watch out, they will move. He could have even used ult, he didn't even need to, but they should still known that TF was 6, so going for that play was very risky by them, and they end up getting punished by a man advantage from the side of definitely not watch out. And Bumblebee boys are sort of crumbling here. They're going for these plays without really considering all the different values that needs to go in, and against the TF, that's just not something you can afford to do.
Yes, Mad Maxer takes a couple more love taps, and here comes Zork with a nice trade. It's going to be the Vanguard's Edge utilized, and there's plenty of damage for the Aurelia, nothing to worry about there. It's a freebie. However, can you get out of with your life? I feel as though the answer's no, but Lofjorgen is going to go drowsy, taking a bit of a nap on the job, and that means the Bando Petit can come in, and suddenly the bandage tosses are flying, people dying, except the Bard is able to move away, but Tay getting a little bit too close because he knows he's got backup. And here comes the numbers. It's going to be 3v2. Make that 1 because 1's dead. Good night, sweet prince.
Yeah, and there we see the advantage. Like, there we see Löwenhagen. He's trying so desperately to make this early work, but because he's skimping so hard on his clear, he's 30 CS at 8 minutes. He's still level 5 at 8 minutes into the game. And I feel like if he was level 6 there, he would have been able to kill the Aurelia. But the fact that he wasn't meant that he couldn't finish up the kill, and the fact that the Lilia was level 6 mean that they could just turn around and fight and kill him. But crucially, he's bailed out, I feel like, by the TF being able to use his global ultimate and calm down and make that still a 1-for-1 for definitely not washed up, so that it's not too bad. But Löwenhagen, he needs to be careful. Yes, you need to snowball, but you still should be able to keep accountable. And this is what makes this playstyle one of the hardest ones in the game. It definitely shows that if you're a really great jungle, they can really execute this far. We've seen Jankos is one of the players who typically in DLC went for the Volibear when it was sort of a counter pick. He was one of the ones who went for it often because he's really good at just making the early game plays happen, but also balancing, his jungle camping. And yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to execute. We see Löwenhagen kind of falling a bit on this playstyle.
Oh, Zorka is going to spot that one out, so fair play there. The blue card only available there for Otti, so no proper ability to set that one up just yet. And honestly, it does feel like this is the sacrifice that's paid for ganking this amount. You know, there's ganking junglers, and then there's I'm doing nothing but ganking junglers, and that feels like what Leviathan has done this time around. However, Stryth is going to be in a little bit of an interesting situation, doing a bit of damage back to Maxer and not a whole lot else.
Yeah, and I just want to say, finally we have another 80 carry item to talk about. It looks like MF still gonna go shield bow in this game, but I mean Darkguard, he has gone for the Kraken Slayer, which I think it's interesting. I think this game Galeforce is definitely not what you want to go for. It doesn't really, there's no really ability that's Gale forceable in my opinion. And oh, we have a bit of a play.
A 3-man sleep opportunity here, and this is what I was talking about. Look at the interaction. You can't cut the sleep, but you can cut 2 members down, and unfortunately, Golden Excellence, you don't have the flash, you can't follow up, and what looks beautiful from Bumblebee Boys gets absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and again, the moments they're trying, and this is what we've seen from all of the game. They're trying, and usually that feels like the coin flipped on the right way for them, but now all these flippy plays, they're kind of getting punished by the fact that there is a TF on the map, and there is just so much well executed.
That's an aggressive dive coming through here from Otti, but it's going to work out very easily, and Mad Maxer will happily pick up another kill.
Yeah, and TF also being used, as we say, and now Mad Maxer is really showing up in this game. He's the one that we talked about will be such a threat that no one can deal with that game. And if he gets rolling early, there's even less of room for Bumblebee Boys. There's little.
Golden Excellence, that's not exactly perfect. You're getting slapped by Tay, but it is getting turned around. However, Darkguard still has everything up. It's a freebie pickup, and Exhaust is going to do nothing to keep you alive. However, Zorka now fighting the mid lane, and Bando Petit is also having action towards the bot side. It's hectic all around. It's just going to be a bunch of kills around the map. The teleport is used by Stryth to pick up 1, but honestly, with several members falling throughout the map, it's not really worth.
No, but this is what I talked about in the game. Like, yes, you have this really good numbers team comp that if it gets ahead has just so many options to sort of choke out the enemy. But as we have seen, these games have been far away from being structured games, and that's when champions like the Aurelia, like the Aegis can shine, and we're seeing some of that here. And this is the Bumblebee's way to come back into this game, is that they need to get this normal even term skirmishes getting down. And definitely was up. They cannot afford to take any play where they cannot force a numbers advantage. Remember, TF was used top lane. That means that he could not join as he's running the Ignite. He could not join that fight on top side, which means that there could be an even fight on the bot side, which actually will always favor the Bumblebee Boys in this game with the champions that they have. So definitely not watch out. If you're making a play, you need to have a global advantage either with the TFOs or your TPs to force a man advantage. If you do not, you're putting yourself in a really hard, between a rock and a hard place, and you're gonna find it hard to find much success.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation. Mad Maxer finds a little bit of opportunity, but the Curse of the Sad Mummy isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but the stun is so good. The Cosmic Binding is going to do so much. However, the Tempered Fate, not ideal, but a 2-man stun again. The bindings are beautiful from Tay. It's going to set everything up, and it's going to be an easy double kill for Mad Maxer.
Yeah, and as we're saying that now, Tay showing by the board pick has been so strong. He's moving around, he's making these plays again. Overextension. I feel like the bot lane from Bumblebee Boys, I mean, Bondo Petit looked so solid on his first moment game in the series, but it's gone downhill fast, and they're just sort of bleeding so much, and desperately there's a play on the top side.
Yeah, but the Ohmwrecker popping, coming through from that Stormbringer to make it harder to dive this, and Stryth almost gets a turnaround for a triple, but gets absolutely no one. It's a 2 for nothing in the top side, and honestly, definitely not washed up, are starting to run away with this one.
Yeah, they're stepping up. Maybe they heard me in the cast. They're starting to use their TF, and if they use it to the numbers about they play around the super snowball Jax. They don't care about the bot lane. They just go for this top lane. And when the enemy bot lane is bleeding so much, which is supposed to be the winning matchup, mind you, it's just getting clobbered. There's not many bright lights except for this Zorka in the mid lane on this Aurelia. He's the only bright spot for this team at this moment. He needs to come up huge in this fight to sort of turn this back for Bomber Boys. But with this goal deficit of around 5k, I don't see a world where they can even win a fight right now. I don't even think they want to take one. They need to get the dreamiest, wettest wombo combo of all time to even turn this around. And well, as we see the Drakes about in 2 minutes ways, I think this is gonna be a very big decider for how the rest of the tempo of the game goes off. We're only 50 minutes in, and it's a 5k gold lead. That is massive for definitely the watch up. And yeah, I just want to see what happens in these next minutes. It's gonna be deciding, because if definitely Okra keep winning at this, I don't think there is a way for Bumblebee Boys to get back into this, but they're trying to force a play.
Yeah, Bondo Petit does land a little bit of damage, but realizes very quickly there's going to be no follow-up, so just get out of there. You lose half your health, but at least you don't lose the full amount, so does end up getting out alive. And with the dragon spawning in a minute and a half, you got to feel as though, unless the Bumblebee Boys can set up ahead of time and land a dream wombo combo, they're going to struggle, and realistically speaking, definitely not washed up. They don't need to play fights clean. They can get scrappy, they can get dirty, and it's going to be advantageous for them.
Yeah, just look at the items. We have mythic item and second item coming in for the solution. We have first item completion on both TF, Jax, and Volibear. On the other side, yeah, yes, we have some Golden Gifts buff and we have some shield balls. But a going shield ball on MF, it just makes it so that she does not have any damage in this boss. Yes, we survive, but she will basically not equivalent to a caster. Meaning, yes, if she gets a really good ultimate with the CC, she can still do some work. But the Lilia either doesn't have anything, and we have a dive.
Oh, we have a death.
Yeah, we have a dive and a death. Can't even transition fast for that one. And top lane.
Yeah, Zorka's doing his best to flip it around, but the Sonya's comes through.
Ooh.
It's going to stall it out. Good usage there from ulti to keep himself alive. And meanwhile, Strife again might be in trouble, but Mad Maxer looks like the one who's bit off more than they can chew. As the resets are going through on that Q setup, Mad Maxer flashes to the side to avoid the third opportunity, but he's very, very low, you know. However, Strife takes a decent chunk too. The cooldowns aren't quite there, but the collapse is. There's plenty of members, so Strife has to back up.
Mad Max are definitely showing he knows the limits of his champion, playing on the edge there with the around the enemy cooldowns, and both top laners respecting each other's cooldowns, playing defensive when the other ones is up and aggressive when they know that the enemy is down. So very decent and measured play coming out from both of them there. But
Oh,
with the lead,
goodbye,
Jackson-
Golden Excellence.
Oh.
It's a red card. It's a Reggie red card. It might turn everything around because the bullet time is still available. Lots of damage being blown. There is the bullet time. It's not quite enough as Ulti gets away, limping out, but that means that Lovjugend is suddenly on his own. Isolation come through, and my word, this is not COVID time. You don't want to be isolated. You're going to go down. It was close, my friend, but you're going to get hunted for your skin. It's a free pick.
So I don't know why they're trying to force this out. They have a Drake where they can just freely take, increasing their scaling power with this Drake being taken. They don't need to force play in A-roaming like this. They want to play side lane, definitely push up. They want to play around their Fed Jacks. They do not want to A-ram into a team fight comp. This is just something you never want to be doing. And this crucially means that all of a sudden, Bumblebee Boys, they looked down up, but they got a crucial lifeline being thrown here by definitely not washed up and able to pick up a second dragon while being 5k gold behind.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can get themselves that soul. They could bring the game back. It's still a 6,000 gold lead, but it's a step in the right direction. And realistically speaking, that's all you can want. And Zorka being 2-1 in the current situation, definitely going to be a strong sort of point for the team. The only one who actually has an advantage over his enemy laner, so keep your eyes on Zorka in these fights. Needs to start to find some sort of advantage and is looking to find one against Bad Maxa. Won't be able to do so. However, the collapse is coming. Strife is going to get hit by that gold card, and honestly, he's going to look for the turnaround, but they're playing around him so well, limiting what the Aatrox can do, and honestly, it looks like it's only a matter of time as the gold card lands, as does the Cosmic Binding. Auto the man down, he's going to take all the damage needed. Tay picks up a freebie. However, selection in the top side isn't going to result in a whole lot, but a nice pick.
Disregarding the fact that I don't know why the TF without TP is playing bot side away from his team when he should be using his ultimate to create a mana advantage, Tay is an absolute madman on this part. Tay is just making every side that should be weak side strong side as he's able to call out person after person, but we do have a fight.
Oh, Bon Appetit lands only the one man there with the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and the bullet time isn't doing a whole lot either. There
Mad
is that
Maxer.
one pickup here so far, but Mad Max is now finding Zorka. Zorka flashes over the wall to go aggressively onto Love Jurgen, but also trying to escape. Doesn't end up doing either, unfortunately, as Mad Maxer picks up the second of the fight. Looking for a third. Humble Giant now low. Another kill goes down. It's 4 dead, only Stryth alive, and that's because he already died before.
Yeah, all the CC landed onto the Volibear there, who could just yeet out with the ultimate, and Mad Maxer was just free hitting everyone in that fight. And yeah, I'm gonna say at the Golden Excellent, Shield Bow isn't the play every game, my man. You don't. He's a bit behind as well, so it might be a bit unfair to the item, but he's just tickling Mad Maxer at this point. And yes, he's surviving for a bit longer, but he eventually just goes down.
Yeah, Stryth is looking for a little bit more, but I feel as though might be biting off more than he could chew as well. However, the members are respawning and Stryth is chasing down Love Jurgen. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to catch this Volibear though, with a little bit of Bard help. Movement speed for one, slows for the other, and that's going to be more than enough to get him out alive.
It looks like Bumblebee boys that don't really know how to play from behind. I've noticed in both of these games, both games when they fall behind, they only have one more they perma fight. And yes, when they're even 2 ahead, they have been shown to sort of have the coordination to pull out this team fight and team fight really well. We saw the members, especially in the first game, how well the team fight, and now Darkheart has found Golden Excellence.
That's a culling, that's a death. Darkguard picks up an easy one, however, is in a bit of trouble now. It's going to be a trade overall, but there's something fun about Illusion point blank culling a Misfortune and just killing a 3
Yeah, I would call that bullying, but I mean, it's definitely worked for Bumblebee boys. They got a huge shutdown onto their jungler, so I think that MF's going to be happy about that. Actually, it's sort of a caster minion at this point. The Tempered Fate being
Oh
prone.
no. Bondo, Bido, Dead Doe, not a whole lot left. However, it's a good amount of time being bought, but it doesn't do much. The 4-man Lilting Lullaby has no follow-up, so it's just a waste of food.
Now, I do want to highlight that, yes, it seems that Bumblebee, they don't really know how to creep farm. They're not waiting. Usually, one of the good things you can do from behind with the team fight combat is that even if you get outscaled, what you want to do is you want to wait and you want to see if the enemy is good enough to close out to you. You can let them push some plays and see if they fuck up, and you can also wait until you get some of your big items, but I might not even get to finish this point. The big Humble Giant is not looking too hot.
Yeah, Taya's got all of the CC you could possibly need. Mad Maxer has the damage. It's an easy kill thanks to the lamp leap.
Yeah, the lamp leap going ROI there, and Jack's showing why he is not allowed to have a real weapon in the arena, but he's gonna make do with this lamp, making it as deadly as a big great axe. And this is actually Baron being started by different world. They definitely have the lead, and with the jungle being dead from Bumblebees, this is a good, really great call from them. There's no threat of Asmai Seal. I think this is just gonna be a great secure, but they have to be careful. The one boy is still up. Curse of the Sad Mummy is still up. The Vanguard's edge cost bullet time. They have to be a bit careful. Well, with the magical journey, they're able to get up to safety and are now recalling.
Yeah, and crucially, they're going to be able to recall get to the dragon before it spawns. Yes, they won't have the vision set up, but it's going to be better than them, trading that one off for the dragon itself. And they've got all of their ultimate cooldowns available, really, to fight this one out. So, we'll have to see whether or not the Bumblebee boys, now that they've got themselves inside track, can they find the fight they need to? Because they're
I don't think they can rush this with the Tempered Fate coming down. They don't really have the items on the carries to sort of rush this down. They're really close to fight.
Culling being used for poke, and the engage is beautiful. Nice Vanguard's edge. However, the bullet time over the top isn't going to do a whole lot of damage. And while Zorka goes in, he gets blown up immediately. The wallet slapping is happening, and there's not a whole lot you can do if you're a red side fan. You're a red side dying because blue side is dominating, definitely not washed up, are proving their namesake. The gold card hits, the CC is there, and so is the Death Chamber. Goodbye, Lilia. Ace.
This could be a game. There's TP on Jackson, there's a midwave and the Baron. I think they might be able to end. If they just keep this wave alive, they have Harold as well. Yes, they should be able to end. But if Jax just decides to TP and keeps this wave alive, I think he needs to TP a red to make that. They need to have speed is the essence. The TP is committed. They're looking for it. Death timers are ticking down. 2 people are up.
How much time can you buy, Bondo Petit? You don't have a whole lot of support. You've got to curse the Sad Mummy, and that's about it. And there's only going to be one target close enough. How much time can you bought? Yes, the Herald goes down, but the target focus onto the Amumu. It doesn't
is
even
it.
get cast. It's going to be all on Zorka now. How much can you do? The CC is there. It's been there all series. It's been there since minute 1 of this game. A double kill going over here to Otti. And I've got to say, it's surprising how they did it, but the side of the Bumblebee boys are going to go down and definitely not washed up. Prove that they deserve to be in the finals. Amazing stuff from them as they take this one 3-1.
Wow, what a series though. It was a lot of back and forth, but definitely not washed up. Guys, you're not washed up indeed. And they are just able to sort of out-execute and outlast mentally even, I feel like, in this series. I guess, and look at that Jax damage. Just gotta highlight that really quick. I mean, there are definitely ones with the weird drafts, but they're making it work. And the one thing, when they had sort of a made sense driving game one, they didn't really execute. But when they go for their own thing, they have their style and they have their picks that they like to play. And when they get those, they show that they can execute. And they definitely did this in these games, and well deserved win from them.
And the thing
takes
is,
the team.
it's very rare that we do the theory, like we do theory crafting before the game. We go, oh, if they do this, they basically just win the game, and then it happens. They perfectly understood, a couple of plays, what does Volibear need to do? Well, he needs to gank early, use his ult to tower dive, and just impact the map. Well, that happened. Okay, TF needs to roam around to top and to bot and utilize his ultimate to land CC and set things up. That happened. Okay, Lucian needs to not die and get dived. Didn't happen. That was perfect. Every single member did pretty much what they had to do in this game, and it was clean. It felt as though they were in control from start to finish, and it was pretty easy to do. In all honesty, they did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a victory. I feel like I've loved to see the growth. Like they've changed some play. They had a different ADC, I believe, in the beginning when they were playing when I first casted them, and now they're definitely washed up. They have improved immensely over the course of the tournament, and now actually are contenders for winning the entire CE Autumn Split, and that to me is the most amazing thing.
Yeah, they've done an amazing job here to put themselves into the finals and put themselves into that crucial spot because, we came into this game and there's a reason why people would say that the Bumblebee boys were a strong team, right? They came into this looking, solid. They came in, they earned themselves the bye to begin with. So amazing stuff from them. But they just got honestly outclassed in this one. They looked great in the first game. And then it was just over. Like, definitely not washed up. They woke up and they took control of this series. And they deserve to be in the finals here.
Yeah, they definitely do. And we gotta give them applause. I mean, Bumblebee Boys, they made it watchable. They made it like they were fighting for it in the first 2 games, especially. And they just made some crucial mistake. If they just played that game to a bit cleaner, they could have actually gotten the win there because they were ahead for most of it. But just too many overextensions and too over eagerness got by them. And I feel like after game 3, they kind of lost their mojo and they just made so many mistakes. But also, they didn't really. It was a really hard game to play. That they really need to be crisp with their timers on the cooldown, especially on this TF ult. But they just weren't. And just not to take anything away from how well definitely not washed up played, of course. But I feel like they put up a good fight, but just. They were behind and it just felt like they panicked. They just permafought all the time. They did not know. They did not wait for their carries to, even though they might not outscale specifically, they could still wait for them to pick up these crucial items. Like let the MF get 1 or 2 items and get her crit spike. So it gets the Infinity and then it can make really high damage. Let the Aurelia get 2 or 3 items as well. And then you really can start to fight unless they had the Drakes. Remember, there was no threat over Drakes. So unless the enemy is actively pressuring objective, you actually do not have to go there. They could have set them back and waited for these items to come in. You just have that slightly higher chance of turning around these sort of disadvantageous team fights. But then again, they tried their best. But I definitely feel like the better team on the day was definitely Watch Up, and they got the well-deserved win.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with that being said, though, we do have our end coming very, very close. We do appreciate everybody tuning in today. It was a great stream. We had some really good games, actually, back and forth in the second and third game, but then the last game was very definitely just going in one direction, and I think that one direction is definitely not washed up, and they will make a great contender for not today's, for this weekend's finals. And yeah, really great shout out to Recollect and Major Cheese for being here and casting with us, because you did a great job, but also the teams. Thank you all for participating and making it this far. Congratulations to Bumblebee Boys for making it to the semifinals, but unluckily not succeeding. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. See you guys later, and enjoy the rest of your night.
It sucks being behind, man. I know the feeling.